Chapter 2039. If this formation is destroyed, then unless you create endless slaughter, you will never know the truth about the cave world, the immortal astral continent, or the world. You will still have to watch Li Muan's soul scatter and enter the reincarnation cycle. You won't be able to make her accompany you for life. The ancient Tao imperial teacher roared and revealed a ferocious expression. The eyes of the black-haired slaughter avatar lit up and he stopped his right hand that was about to fall. Black gas surrounded his right hand and it was a shocking sight. You have the ancient ancestor's soul blood, and that soul blood has the power of the creation clan. However, even if a drop of soul blood fuses with Li Muan's body, it won't allow her to safely enter the Taiji God realm. The immemorial God realm is the supreme holy land of the immortal astral continent. It is not something ordinary cultivators can enter. You either need to have a powerful cultivation level or a powerful body. In particular, the immemorial God realm has completely opened, and it is far from the past. If you want to bring Li Muan in, you must make her body indestructible. Only then can you bring her into the immemorial God realm and activate the reincarnation cycle to find her true self. Then she can escape the reincarnation cycle and become an immortal existence. Tian Yunzi quickly spoke and coughed out 2 more mouthfuls of blood. His blood was like a mist that penetrated the formation on the ground. Then 2 more souls formed by the countless dead souls Wang Lin had killed let out mournful screams as they flew into the sky. In the sky they lined up with the 4 black vortexes from before. It looked like they were about to form a circle. Each of the 2 balls of black chi displayed a different image. It wasn't the Celestial clan, but the ancient clan. In the territory of the Ji clan, there was a sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. This sea was dark and gave off the smell of decay. This was the famous Dead Sea of the Ji clan. In the past, the Dead Sea was a very suitable place for Ji's branch to cultivate. The pressure in the sea could make a person's body endure several times more. If one could endure it, they would be able to stimulate their full potential. However, at that moment, huge waves, which were rarely seen, appeared in the Dead Sea. The waves tumbled backwards in all directions and let out booming sounds. As they howled, the Dead Sea caved in, and the huge pillar shot into the sky. As it completely rose into the sky and disappeared, the Dead Sea sank in a large area, and half of it had actually sunk. The moment the pillar flew into the sky, a giant pillar also flew into the sky at the border between the ancient Tao and ancient Shi. This caused a large amount of ripples to spread in all directions. This strange scene attracted the attention of everyone who saw it. Everyone began to speculate, but aside from a few people, no one knew what had happened. All the answers you want to know are in the Taiji God realm. Just go there and you'll know. The ancient Tao imperial teacher wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth. The black-haired slaughter avatar's gaze fell on the ancient Tao imperial teacher and he slowly spoke. The place you exist in is still different from the space the formation is in. As he spoke, the black-haired slaughter avatar pointed at the ancient Tao imperial teacher. A large amount of black gas flew out and closed in on the ancient Tao imperial teacher in the blink of an eye. The old man did not dodge at all. He allowed the black gas to pass through his body in an instant. However, his body was transparent and he was not injured at all. It was as if his body was just a reflection of an illusion and did not exist in this place. The ancient Tao imperial teacher's pupils shrank as he looked at the black-haired slaughter avatar. His eyes were filled with dread once more. I still don't believe what you said. Wang Lin's original body sat outside the formation and looked at what was happening inside. At the same time, his slaughter avatar spoke. He didn't seem to be shocked by the other party's words at all. The imperial teacher Dao Ji clenched his teeth and suddenly said, "Do you have a strand of white hair and a skull the size of a fist?" When the slaughter avatar heard this, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Wang Lin's original body outside the formation suddenly looked up. You indeed obtained it. When the ancient Tao Imperial Teacher saw this, he became spirited. The ancient Tao Imperial Teacher stared at the slaughter avatar and quickly said, "Enter the immemorial God realm, use that hair as a guide, use that skull as a light, and you will find the truth. If you destroy this formation, this old man's plan will fail, but you will also never know. One day you will regret this." The ancient Tao Imperial Teacher quickly said as he stared at the slaughter avatar. Today's matter was beyond his expectations. He originally thought Wang Lin couldn't enter the space the formation was in, but he didn't expect Wang Lin to have the power to break through realms. In particular, when facing the slaughter avatar, the old man felt an indescribable sense of fear and dread from the depths of his heart and soul. It shouldn't be like this. Could there be a problem here? The ancient Tao Imperial Teacher roared in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. However, because the formation could be destroyed with just a thought from Wang Lin, the preparations he had made over the years had collapsed in an instant. This forced the old man to reveal a lot of secrets. The black-haired slaughter avatar slowly said, "Interesting, I don't need to destroy this formation, but you have to tell me why this formation can only be activated by the souls of my original body's slaughter." When the ancient Tao Imperial Teacher heard this, his expression changed and he hesitated. However, when he saw Wang Lin raise his right hand and black gas spread out to destroy the formation, the ancient Tao Imperial Teacher's expression changed. "Because the immemorial God realm has." The old man clenched his teeth and was about to speak, but just as he finished speaking, his body trembled and he let out a miserable scream. His body trembled and showed signs of dissipating. This is the law of the world. I can't say it. If the old man says it, his body and soul will be destroyed." The ancient Tao Imperial Teacher's face instantly turned pale. "You don't have to say it, but you have to tell me who you are." The black-haired slaughter avatar stepped forward and gloomily said, "Seven-colored is the old man, Tian Yunzi is also the old man, and Imperial Teacher Dao Ji is also the old man. Even this." At this point, the old man's body trembled, and he let out a painful roar. "I can't say it. Wang Lin, this formation is important to the old man, but it is also important to you. If you insist on destroying it, the old man will no longer stop you." Imperial Teacher Dao Ji's expression was ferocious as he suddenly spoke. He had made a mistake today because he didn't expect Wang Lin to be able to break the realm and allow the slaughter avatar to come. Otherwise, everything would have been in his hands, unlike now, where Wang Lin held the initiative and he himself was completely passive. The slaughter avatar silently pondered. Wang Lin's original body outside the formation revealed a complicated gaze. After a long time, he let out a sigh. Based on the other party's reaction, he had a strange guess in the depths of his heart. However, this guess was too outrageous, and he didn't believe it himself. However, this matter involved Li Muan, and Wang Lin knew about Li Muan. The Soul Blood Avatar didn't mention the anchor. The Soul Blood Avatar could temporarily awaken Li Muan, but it couldn't allow her to surpass the reincarnation cycle. She would still die one day. If he wanted to surpass the reincarnation cycle, perhaps he really would have to go to the immemorial God realm. Staring at the old man, Wang Lin closed his eyes. The moment he closed his eyes, the slaughter avatar withdrew its right hand. The black gas around its body condensed and no longer spread out. The slaughter avatar coldly said, "Continue to operate the formation." The ancient Tao Imperial Teacher wasn't surprised. He looked meaningfully at Wang Lin's original body outside the formation and coughed out 2 more mouthfuls of blood. The 2 mouthfuls of blood turned into 2 masses of black gas formed by countless dead souls. They flew into the sky and formed a perfect circle with the 6 black vortexes. At the same time, in 2 other locations in the ancient clan, 2 giant pillars rose into the sky. The earth trembled slightly and they disappeared into the sky. The 9 black vortexes in the sky began to rotate faster and faster. Suddenly, a black light erupted from one of the vortexes. The light was as black as ink, and it spread out in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the entire sky turned black. Not only the sky here, but the entire sky of the ancient clan turned into night. Even the vast sea and the 72 continents of the celestial clan turned into night. The entire immortal astral continent turned into night. After 9 breaths of time, the night that shrouded the entire immortal astral continent disappeared. From Wang Lin's view, one of the 8 vortexes in the sky had disappeared. At the same time, a strange feeling filled Wang Lin's mind. He vaguely saw a giant pillar appear in the vast sea between the ancient clan and the celestial clan. It stood motionlessly in the sea. Just at this moment, another of the 7 vortexes in the sky released the same burst of black light. The world turned dark, and after 9 breaths of time, there were only 6 vortexes left. However, a second pillar appeared in the vast sea. As black and white alternated, the entire immortal astral continent began to tremble. Monstrous waves were set off in the vast sea, and thunderous rumbles echoed. Wang Lin could vaguely feel everything that was happening in the sea. When he saw all of this, his mind trembled. This kind of phenomenon that affected the entire immortal astral continent could only be seen in the legendary supreme place that could allow people to become Grand Empyreans, the immemorial God Realm. Tai-Ji God Realm, Wang Lin muttered. He had heard of this place a long time ago, but this was the first time he had personally witnessed it open. The sky turned dark for the 5th time, and after 9 breaths of time, it became bright again. Wang Lin saw that there were only 3 vortexes left in the sky. Inside the formation, the All-Seer was filled with excitement. He had been waiting for this day for a very, very long time. He could see all the changes happening to the vast sea, and his eyes were filled with desire and madness. Chapter 2040. While the entire immortal astral continent was alternating between black and white, in the ancestral city of the celestial clan, Grand Empyrean Jiu-Ti opened his eyes. He floated in the sky and looked into the distance. His expression changed. This is indeed the Tai-Ji God Realm. This time it opened from the ancient clan. And the time has been brought forward. The immemorial God Realm shouldn't have opened earlier. This will be the first time the immemorial God Realm has completely opened. It will be very different from before. A woman's voice came from beside Jiu-Ti. Hai Zi was standing there in white, looking into the distance with a complicated gaze. I can't divinate everything, I can only divinate this much. Also, according to my calculations, the Tai-Ji God Realm will open for hundreds of years. Completely open. Jiu-Ti revealed a hint of excitement that he couldn't hide. If it is completely opened, there may be a way to surpass Grand Empyreans and reach the same level as the celestial ancestor. In the celestial clan, in the Dao-E sect, the Dao-E sect had been shrouded in darkness over the years. Countless powerful people had died inexplicably, and Grand Empyrean Dao-E had been in closed-door cultivation. This caused the place to gradually become sparse. However, at this moment, a heaven-shaking roar came from the Dao-E sect. A thunderous rumble echoed and a mountain collapsed. A figure surrounded by gray gas flew out. This figure had a ferocious expression as he stared into the distance. Immemorial God Realm. There may be a way for me to completely remove the curse and increase my cultivation level. Within the Purple Yang sect, the 2 adorable girls were currently in secluded meditation. Between the 2 of them were the eyes of the celestial ancestor, which emitted bursts of strange light that connected them together. At this moment, the 2 of them opened their eyes at the same time and looked in the same direction. It was as if their gazes could penetrate the wall and see the world outside. There was also the place where the celestial clan had first discovered signs of the immemorial God Realm. Wu Feng was standing on an iceberg with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. At the same time, in the depths of the imperial palace, there was a mountain in the overlapping space. This mountain was formed by the madman, and it was motionless. Aside from the celestial clan, the ancient clan felt the same about the opening of the immemorial god realm. The ancient G Grand Empyreans and the ancient Shur Grand Empyreans felt the same. There was also Xian Luo. He had long sensed that something was wrong. He looked at the desolate mountain that Wang Lin headed towards and the abnormality in the sky. Even the sacred emperor ancestor flew out from beneath the ancient palace and stood next to Xian Luo, looking up at the sky in shock. The Taiji God realm is opening early. The two of them looked at each other and did not continue to speak. Instead, they fell silent. In the land of the Ji clan, in the central region where the three bloodlines were connected, a figure shrouded in mist stood next to the window of the tower on Mount Ancient Path. He looked at the sky and let out a sigh. In the end, it was still completely opened. When I learned of everything, I knew that I was powerless to change it. The blurry figure shook his head and revealed a rare complex and bitter gaze. Hundreds of years later, endless calamity. All life must go through endless calamity. Leaving the abyss is an obsession. Following the decree to cultivate. The blurry figure murmured. The sky of the immortal astral continent darkened for the 8th time and then turned bright again. The last black vortex above the collapsed, desolate mountain disappeared without a trace. However, in the vast sea, 8 shocking pillars stood there. No matter how much the waves raged, they didn't move at all. Within the circle formed by the 8 pillars, the sea gradually turned into fog, but the sea outside the circle was still water. Inside the collapsed formation under the mountain, Imperial Teacher Dao Ji, who looked like the All-Seer and also like the 7-colored All-Seer, had a serious expression. His hands formed a seal and continued to change. Then he pressed his hand on the formation, and a strange sound came from his mouth. This voice sounded like countless people murmuring, but it was impossible to clearly hear what they were saying. When this voice entered Wang Lin's ears, it caused Wang Lin's eyes to flash an undetectable amount. To imprison the Tao of the heavens, all life must go through endless calamity. Leaving the abyss is an obsession. All life must go through endless calamity to solve the present, escape the heavens, and obtain the next life. Following the decree to cultivate. After the ancient Tao Imperial Teacher muttered countless times, this was the only thing he said. The moment his words echoed, the formation the ancient Tao Imperial Teacher was in gave off endless light. As the light shined, countless large nets appeared around the formation. These large nets were the nets that Wang Lin had stepped on to stop him from entering. However, at this moment, as the formation continued to shine, the nets began to break and cracks appeared on them. The ancient Tao Imperial Teacher had used some unknown method to bring this formation to the immortal astral continent from his own space. It has to be said that the formation in the ruined mountain was only an illusion, like a projection. When Wang Lin broke in, he had used almost all of his cultivation and methods. However, now the formation had used the same method to move from an illusion to become real. Along with it came Wang Lin's slaughter avatar. At this moment, his slaughter avatar was in the same space as Wang Lin's original body. This scene caused Wang Lin's eyes to light up. The moment the formation appeared, the ancient Tao Imperial Teacher let out a roar. As he roared, the formation erupted with 10-colored light. This light was shocking, and from afar, it looked like the 9th pillar had formed. Wang Lin's slaughter avatar retreated a few steps and returned to Wang Lin's original body. After fusing, Wang Lin's body flickered and he appeared outside the light. He looked at the pillar of light and clearly felt the indescribably terrifying power inside. 9th pillar, open the immemorial God realm. The ancient Tao Imperial Teacher's roar came from the pillar of light. The pillar of light continued to rise into the sky and flew toward the vast sea that connected the celestial and ancient lands. In the vast sea, within the circle formed by the 8 pillars, a ray of light closed in. The ninth pillar formed above the circle and caused the world to tremble. Ripples appeared in the sky and spread in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the entire sky above the immortal astral continent was filled with ripples. The entire sea churned, and the ninth pillar in the sky slowly descended towards the center of the circle formed by the 9 pillars. Then, it suddenly fell. The instant it descended, a scene that caused the hearts of everyone who could sense the changes in the area to tremble, and expressions of disbelief appeared on their faces. The boundless sea let out a thunderous rumble that echoed across the entire immortal astral continent. At this moment, the vast sea slowly rose. It was as if a giant hand was using a great power to grab the ocean from the sky. It was slowly lifting up the endless, incomparably vast ocean. It was impossible to describe the size of this vast sea, but the spell to lift it was not something a Grand Empyrean could do. Not even Grand Empyrean Gu Dao could do this. As the seawater rose up into the air, a huge, concave crater was revealed. It was filled with mud and craters, as well as countless strands of seaweed. This crater was none other than the vast expanse sea, an underwater world that had been hidden beneath the surface of the sea for countless years. The sea continued to rise, and a moment later, it was above the Celestial Clan and the G Clan. The depth of the sea was extremely vast and difficult to calculate. Just like its range, it was difficult to measure in a short period of time. When the boundless seawater rose into the air and surpassed the land of the Immortals and G clans, it was still rising. It was a terrifying sight to behold, and it was impossible to tell the difference between the seawater and the sky. Just at this instant, the endless sea was like a raised hand. It suddenly turned half a circle and stood upright. The vertical ocean, the depth of the seawater, had become its current range. The range of the seawater had been reversed to become its current depth. Such a scene could be described as earth-shattering and earth-shattering. The 9 heaven-piercing pillars were at the center of the sea. The vast sea was like a giant wall between the ancient ancestor and the Celestial Clan. Looking up, one couldn't see the end, and it would give off an illusion. It was impossible to tell if the immortal astral continent was rotating and the sea wasn't moving, or if the sea was really rising and the immortal astral continent wasn't moving. This shocking scene actually gave off a feeling as if the heavens had been turned upside down. The sea slowly rotated around the 9 pillars at the center. It moved faster and faster until it gave off a thunderous rumble. From afar, it looked like a storm that connected the heavens and the earth. One could vaguely see the 9 pillars shining inside the storm to form a giant door. This door was closed and hadn't opened. Unfortunately, you haven't killed enough. Otherwise, you could have immediately opened the door. However, now it will take 500 years for you to have the power to open the door. Then, Wang Lin, we'll meet again in the immemorial God realm in 500 years. When we meet again, you'll know the truth. In the collapsed barren mountain, at the edge of the ancient Dao Imperial City, the formation activated and the ancient Dao Imperial Teacher's figure slowly dissipated. Wang Lin looked at the figure that was about to dissipate and suddenly said, "The Dong Lin sect was destroyed by you, right?" However, he didn't get an answer. With a laugh, the formation dissipated and the ancient Dao Imperial Teacher's figure disappeared. This place was still in ruins. Wang Lin silently pondered for a long time before turning around and flying into a ray of light. He disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. He, Wang Lin, had no reason to stay in the ancient Dao clan. Everything here was in the past, but there was one person. Even though he, Wang Lin, had died once to repay the kindness, he still considered this person his teacher. He didn't say it out loud, but in his heart, he still considered this person his teacher. If he really became number 1, could he stand there for a few more days? Chapter 2041. The Storm in the Ancient Dao Imperial City. Xian Luo's disciple Wang Lin had charged into the palace and used his life to repay the kindness. He had killed the ancient Dao Emperor before everyone, and not even Divine Emperor Yi Wei could stop Wang Lin from leaving. This matter gradually spread across the ancient clan as the people of the other two clans left. Anyone who was qualified to know about this matter knew about it. This matter should have been even more shocking, but it slowly dissipated because of something even more shocking. The early opening of the Taiji God realm had caused an uproar across the entire ancient clan and even the entire immortal astral continent. The vast sea between the ancient clan and the immortals had now turned into a gigantic pit. It was boundless and gave off a rotten stench. At the center of the sea that had been erected vertically rotated and let out loud rumbles without end. Inside the rotating sea, the door formed by the 9 pillars was looming. This attracted the attention of most of the powerful people on the immortal astral continent. Many people came with their own spells, but after observing, they all silently left. Jiu Ti had personally come, but the sea was rotating like a storm. Even with his cultivation level, he couldn't go too deep. Not to mention that the looming door hadn't opened yet. However, with his cultivation level and High Z's divination, he vaguely calculated that it would take nearly 500 years for the immemorial God realm to truly open. Moreover, the opening this time would be the first time that it had ever been opened in its entirety. Dao Yi Wu Feng and the Grand Empyreans from the ancient clan, including Xian Luo, all arrived. They all stopped outside the storm and silently observed for a long time before silently leaving. However, at the same time, a message from Mount Gu Dao entered the minds of the 3 clans' Grand Empyreans and the royal family. The message was very simple. It was to tell everyone to stop observing the immemorial God realm. It would open in 500 years and for the 3 royal families and their respective Grand Empyreans to prepare for the next 500 years. Mount Gu Dao didn't care about the death of the ancient Dao Emperor at all. This strange phenomenon made the people that wanted to hunt down Wang Lin and ask Grand Empyrean Gu Dao to act become silent and no longer mention this matter. Similar to the ancient clan, in the Celestial clan, Mount Emperor and the Celestial Palace sent out an imperial edict telling the world that the immemorial God realm would open in 500 years. They wanted all the sects in the 72 continents to train their powerful cultivators. The Empyrean Exalts and Ascendant Empyreans were all very excited. The immemorial God realm was like a fish leaping through the dragon's gate. Once they obtained a great fortune, they could reach the heavens in one step and become a Grand Empyrean. Due to the appearance of the immemorial God realm, the immemorial God realm set off a storm on the immemorial God realm. However, due to the 500-year time limit everyone endured, undercurrents spread like the calm before the storm. Regardless of whether it was CNG or CNG, anyone who felt that they had the qualifications to enter the primeval God boundary could sense the pressure from the surroundings and the movements of the various continents. They faintly knew that a grand event would take place when the primeval God boundary opened in 500 years. However, this matter would likely cause the immemorial God realm, which hadn't had a war in a long time, to erupt again. The ancient clan was preparing. The celestial clan was the same. 500 years, only 500 years. For mortals, low-level cultivators, and the members of the 3 clans, 500 years might be a long time. However, for those powerful cultivators, 500 years was only the blink of an eye. Just as the immemorial God realm was about to start a war on the immemorial God realm, in a country bordering the 12 countries of the ancient Dao and the ancient Shur, it was raining heavily. The rain was not heavy, but it continued to fall, forming a curtain of rain that would last for a long time. In the rain, aside from the ancient Dao cities that were still bustling, the outside world was quiet. The rain fell on the leaves and formed small rivers on the ground. The sky was dark and hazy, but far off in the distance, on a mountain peak that wasn't very tall, there was a young man dressed in white. He held an oil paper umbrella, and beside him stood a woman. The woman was very beautiful, and she stood together with the young man, also looking ahead. This is the story between you and the soul fragment named Wan Air inside me," the woman said softly as she withdrew her gaze from the rain and turned to look at the man in white beside her. It was this man who had charged into the ancient Tao palace and killed the ancient Tao emperor. He had walked out by himself, and no one had dared to stop him. He had brought her here. She didn't know where he was going, but along the way, his gentleness and consideration made her feel warmth from the depths of her heart. Along the way, the man told her a story. It was a long story. They had met by chance and he had said, "I'll take you to kill. Even if the heavens want you to die, I'll take you back." This sentence was the end, leaving behind thousands of years of sorrow and longing. Wang Lin looked at the woman before him with a gentle gaze and nodded. The woman silently pondered. She could feel the gentleness in his eyes. He wasn't looking at her, but at the soul fragment inside her. She silently looked at the rain in the distance, and after a long time, she softly spoke. "Where are we going?" "To the place where we first met." Wang Lin held Song Ji, who had merged with Li Muan's soul fragment, as he walked into the distance. Along the way, he didn't move at full speed because he had to take care of Song Ji's weak body and unstable soul. Nearly a year had passed since he had killed the ancient Tao emperor. During this year, Wang Lin hadn't encountered any pursuit from Mount Gu Dao, and the ancient Tao clan wouldn't talk about this matter. Along the way, Wang Lin brought the woman to the edge of the ancient Tao clan's territory. After this place was Shi Ji's territory. "The place where we first met. Was it Blackstone City?" The woman was in Wang Lin's arm, and a few strands of her hair were blown by the wind. A few strands fell on Wang Lin's face and tangled with Wang Lin's white hair. Wang Lin didn't speak and gradually disappeared into the rain with the woman. Several months later, Wang Lin and Song Ji walked out of the Dao Ji clan and arrived in the ancient Shi. After returning, Song Ji's mood was no longer low. She looked at the ancient Shi and vaguely found it familiar. However, she spoke less and less. When facing Wang Lin, she was mostly silent, and her heart was very complicated. During this time, Wang Lin would occasionally send a warm aura into her body. She didn't know what this aura was, but she could feel that the fused soul in her body was showing signs of separating. "He's separating the soul of the woman named Wan from inside of me. Perhaps when that soul is completely separated, I'll die. But to be able to see my home one last time before I die, to see Aunt Chong and Dong Mei, is good enough." Song Ji's heart was filled with bitterness, and he grew even more silent. She was very afraid, but she was powerless. Wang Lin saw all of this, but he didn't explain anything. They got closer and closer to Blackstone City. Several more months passed. "Will we be able to reach Blackstone City tomorrow?" When the sky darkened and the sun disappeared on a barren mountain, Song Ji looked into the distance and softly asked the man beside him. Just now, Wang Lin had told her that she would be able to return to her hometown, Blackstone City, tomorrow. Wang Lin nodded. Song Ji silently pondered for a bit and revealed a smile. She sighed and turned to look at Wang Lin. She looked at the person who had accompanied her for more than a year. Although he looked young, his face was filled with vicissitudes of life. "Wan Air is very happy. I hope you and her will be happy for a lifetime." At noon the next day, Blackstone City could be faintly seen in the distance. When Song Ji saw the city made of black boulders, she felt the aura of her hometown. Less than half a kilometer away from the city, Wang Lin stopped. Song Ji looked at Wang Lin and softly asked, "Can I touch your face?" Wang Lin looked at the woman in front of him for a long time and gently nodded. Song Ji smiled, and a blush suddenly appeared on her face. She raised her hands and caressed Wang Lin's ordinary face. After a while, she leaned her head against Wang Lin's chest. It was as if she could hear Wang Lin's heartbeat. The sound of his heartbeat caused her to close her eyes. Wang Lin lowered his head and raised his right hand to stroke the woman's hair. There was a delicate fragrance that entered Wang Lin's nose. The two of them hugged each other like this until time passed. When the sun in the distance began to emit a faint red glow and the sky darkened, Song Ji raised her head and left Wang Lin's chest. "If I die, please, you won't die." Wang Lin calmly looked at the woman. As he spoke, his right hand pointed between the woman's eyebrows. Song Ji's vision became blurry, and she slowly fell to the side, as if she had fallen asleep. An hour later, when she regained consciousness, her eyes were filled with confusion. She looked around silently, rubbing her head and frowning. After a long moment passed, she seemed to remember something. At this moment, most of the sun had set and the sky darkened. Song Ji stood up and immediately saw a jade pendant on her neck that emitted warmth. She could sense that the discarnate soul that belonged to one or inside of her was gone. She was still Song Ji, and had not been harmed in the slightest. However, her heart was filled with melancholy. A complicated look appeared in her eyes as she looked around at the empty surroundings. After a while, she turned and walked back toward Blackrock City. That was her hometown. Chapter 2042. Blackrock City was still the same, no different from when she left. As she walked into the city, she didn't encounter any guards. It was as if the city lord had received an order. However, when she arrived at the residence that belonged to her, she saw two people standing there. One was an old woman with a head full of white hair, and the other was a young servant girl. "Auntie Chong. Dong Mei. I'm back." Song Ji bit her lower lip and smiled. Outside Blackrock City, Wang Lin's figure stood where Song Ji had left. He looked at the Black City and withdrew his divine sense. This woman was very pitiful. She had one heir's soul fragment inside her body. During the fusion, it was very damaging to her, causing her memory to become confused and making her unable to tell who she was. Wang Lin could have ignored this woman's weakness and life and death and directly separated Li Muwen's soul fragment from her body. However, the result was that this woman's life force disappeared and her soul dissipated. Wang Lin had cultivated for thousands of years and gave off the feeling that he was ruthless and ruthless. However, he was still a person, and he couldn't bear to be like this. This was why he had come here so slowly in the past 2 years. This was because along the way, he had constantly sent cultivation power into this woman's body. This allowed him to slowly separate and not harm her life force and soul. She is innocent, but it was also because of her that I was able to find one heir's soul fragment. She shouldn't be hurt because of this. The jade pendant contains my divine sense, so it can protect her for a lifetime. Ji-do, you have to deal with everything that happens to her here. Wang Lin slowly said. I will obey Godfather's order. A ripple echoed behind Wang Lin. The Prince of Ji-do walked out, knelt down on one knee, and respectfully said, Brother Ji-do, you're not here. I have already notified the city lord of this place to have him protect Song Ji and not allow any harm to come to her. I hope foster father can be careful. I have even sent guards to live here to protect her. Prince Ji-do knew that Song Ji was very important to his foster father, so he was not careless at all. In truth, after Prince Ji-do returned to the ancient Shur, he had been staying here. According to his analysis, it was likely that Wang Lin would come here. Finally, after waiting for a long time, Wang Lin had arrived. Wang Lin's expression did not change at all about Ji-do waiting here. If this person had not predicted that he would come here, then it meant that he would not be of much use. It would be even more difficult for him to compete for the position of the ancient Shur Imperial Warbler. Let's go. Wang Lin took one last look at Blackrock City before turning around and walking away. Ji-do suppressed the excitement in his heart and quickly followed behind Wang Lin. Wang Kai walked in front and calmly said, Prepare a place for me. I want to go into closed-door cultivation. Prince Ji-do immediately respectfully said, This child's palace has a secret chamber. If Godfather feels uncomfortable, this child will immediately get someone to open a new one. Wang Lin waved his sleeves and the world distorted. He disappeared with Prince Ji-do when he reappeared. He was inside Ji-do's palace. This secret chamber is fine. Without my order, no one is allowed to enter. Wang Lin landed and his gaze swept the palace. He chose a secret chamber and walked inside. Seeing that Wang Lin was about to enter the secret chamber, Prince Ji-do hesitated, as if he wanted to say something, but he hesitated and didn't dare to speak. If you want to become the next emperor, then the ancient Shi's Grand Emperor Song Tian is the key. If he chooses you, then everything will be over. Wang Lin took half a step into the secret chamber and turned to look at Prince Ji-do. Prince Ji-do looked very helpless and said with a bitter smile, "I don't know what I did to make Lord Song unhappy. Normally, when I go to visit him, he doesn't even see me. Even when I meet him in the palace, Lord Song is very cold. On the contrary, my royal brother, Qi Man, is valued by Lord Song and is now living on Origin Mountain. Rumor has it that Lord Song is going to take him as his disciple. Father also cares a lot about Qi Man. The entire ancient Shi seems to want to make him the next emperor," Ji-do said bitterly. Wang Lin's expression was calm, and after hearing this, he pondered a bit. The Grand Emperors of each clan can choose the next emperor, but there are exceptions. I believe you are prepared. Wang Lin looked meaningfully at Prince Ji-do. When Prince Ji-do was looked at by Wang Lin, he felt like his entire body was clearly seen by Wang Lin. It was as if he couldn't even hide his thoughts. Higher is still preparing. I'm not willing to fail and be given the title of king. If I lose the chance to become the emperor, I won't have a second chance. Prince Ji-do silently pondered for a bit before he knelt down on one knee and respectfully said, "Whether it is intelligence or heart, I surpass Qi Man. I ask Godfather to help me. Once I become the emperor, I will fulfill my promise and won't dare to have any disloyalty." Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he slowly said, "Aside from your royal brother, there should be other opponents. There is also my royal brother. When he was born, there was a heavenly phenomenon that attracted the attention of Grand Emperor Jidao, who sent a gift. He also has a high chance of becoming the emperor." Ji-do bitterly smiled. Wang Lin pondered a bit and slowly said, "Yes, I don't care about your preparations, but I can go meet Song Tian and see if he can appoint you as the future emperor." When Prince Ji-do heard this, he was ecstatic, but his expression didn't change much, and he respectfully nodded. Looking at Ji-do, Wang Lin immediately saw through this person's personality. He was likely an ambitious person who knew how to hide his emotions and knew when to stop. "We'll talk about this matter after I come out of closed-door cultivation. If there is nothing important, don't disturb me." Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and walked into Chamber A. After the door closed, the place became silent. Prince Ji knelt down on one knee for a while before he respectfully got up. His eyes were filled with joy that couldn't be hidden. With Godfather's cultivation, I believe that Lord Song will really change his mind. However, my preparations need to be carried out one by one. This time, I must give it a try. Once I succeed, in 200 years, I, Ji-do, will become the ancient Shi Emperor. Prince Ji-do was very excited, and he took a few deep breaths to suppress his emotions. He walked out and immediately gave the order to turn this place into a forbidden area. Anyone who trespassed would be immediately killed. He even mobilized a lot of guards to guard this place day and night. Ignoring Prince Ji-do, Wang Lin walked into the secret chamber and looked around. He waved his right hand and a large amount of restrictions spread out, completely sealing this place. With Wang Lin's current cultivation level, he had no restrictions. Even if a Grand Emperor came, it would be impossible for them to enter without Wang Lin noticing. Sitting on the ground, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had chosen to come to the ancient Shi and help Ji-do become the emperor. Aside from sending Song Ji back to his hometown, there was another deeper reason for him to do so. One drop of soul blood can't allow one heir's body to enter the Taiji God realm. Wang Lin had seen many records of Grand Empyrean Gemini when he was at the Purple I3E sect. There were some descriptions of the immemorial God realm. No one knew when the immemorial God realm had appeared, but Wang Lin knew from those records that there was a great pressure in the immemorial God realm. This pressure could block the operation of the world, and even if one's soul didn't dissipate, their soul wouldn't enter reincarnation. It was as if even reincarnation could be stopped there. This was similar to what the ancient Tao imperial teacher had said. This was why Wang Lin had allowed the ancient Tao imperial teacher to activate the formation and open the immemorial God realm. Wan Er's body is unable to withstand the pressure of the immemorial God realm. According to what that imperial preceptor Dao Ji said, soul blood can make up for this, but clearly one drop is far from enough. That imperial preceptor Dao Ji spent so much effort to open the immemorial God realm, and used the truth as bait, using Wan Er's transcendence of reincarnation as bait to get me to throw her there. Based on this analysis, no matter what his goal is, he's trying to make me believe that he's trying to get me in. At the very least, he's telling the truth here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone. Wang Lin pondered. This was the biggest reason he had chosen to help Ji Du. He wanted to obtain more soul blood, so he had to go to the ancient clan's ancestral temple to go through the third trial. Only then would he have a chance to obtain the recognition of the ancient ancestor. Perhaps he would be able to obtain soul blood like Gu did during the second trial. Dao Ji, I can no longer go back. The right to open the ancestral temple is not in the hands of the Grand Empyreans, but in the hands of the past emperors. That is the right of the emperor. Even if Lu Chern can obtain recognition and become the ancient Tao emperor, I don't want to return to the ancient Tao. Wang Yi let out a sigh and revealed a complicated expression. As for the ancient Ji, I haven't had much contact with them since I came to the ancient clan. It looks like the ancient Shur is more suitable. Although Ji Du is ambitious, he doesn't dare to go against me. 500 years. The last 500 years. Wang Lin took a deep breath and waved his right hand. There was a flash of gentle light and a crystal coffin appeared before Wang Lin. Li Muwen was motionless inside the coffin, as if she was sleeping. Wang Lin looked at Li Muwen and his expression became gentle. He raised his left hand and hit his forehead. A ray of light flew out from between his eyebrows. Within the fluorescent light there was a blurry figure. That figure was Li Muwen's remnant soul. Wan Er, from now on, your soul is complete. I will definitely awaken you. Not just for a few decades, but for a lifetime. Wang Lin pointed with his left hand and the ray of light flew toward Li Muwen's forehead. After it entered, Li Muwen's eyelashes trembled as if she was about to awaken, but she slowly calmed down. However, 2 lines of crystal tears flowed down from the corners of her eyes. The monthly ticket is about to fall. Please hold it with both hands. Chapter 2043. Wang Lin looked at Li Muwen in the coffin, saw her eyelashes tremble, and saw the sparkling tears. His expression was gentle as he wiped away the tears for Li Muwen. The tears hung on his finger and did not fall. They glittered like crystals. He brought the tears to his mouth and sucked them. They were very bitter and astringent, but when they melted in his heart, there was a hint of sweetness. It was an indescribable taste. Wang Lin looked at Li Muwen for a very, very long time. He didn't care about the passage of time. He looked at Li Muwen's delicate face for an eternity. Until one day, Wang Lin's heart slowly calmed down. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were filled with determination and determination. Wang Lin bent down and touched Li Muwen's pale lips with his face. He seemed to be murmuring something in the woman's ear that only he could hear. After a while, Wang Lin waved his right sleeve, and the coffin in which Li Muwen was turned into a beam of light that disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin was the only one left in the secret chamber, sitting there quietly. Not far away from him was an oil lamp on the wall. It was very mysterious. If there was no external force, it could burn for thousands of years without being extinguished. At that moment, it flickered and emitted a light that flickered between brightness and darkness. This caused Wang Lin's back to appear and disappear in and out of view. Wang Lin made a grasping motion with his left hand as he sat there cross-legged. Immediately, a golden light flashed, and the soul of the Celestial Emperor appeared in his hand. The soul's eyes were closed, and even though it was surrounded by golden light, there was a strong sense of defeat in it. Looking at this soul, Wang Lin hesitated a bit, but he clenched his teeth and spat out a mouthful of green fire. This green fire was his soul fire, and after it surrounded the Celestial Emperor's soul, it rushed over. Whether or not this soul can be used by me will depend on whether or not I can expel the power of the spell. This process will be very slow. Wang Lin looked at the soul of the Celestial Emperor surrounded by the soul flame. After a long time, he withdrew his gaze and closed his eyes. He slowly began to cultivate. His breathing was thin and almost imperceptible, and he remained motionless. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye 3 years had passed. During these 3 years of time, no one came to disturb Wang Lin. He didn't move at all inside the secret chamber and was immersed in time. His cultivation and ancient power flowed perfectly inside his body. However, the sliver of celestial and ancient power that had formed on Mount Gu Dao hadn't even completed one cycle. At this moment it had only completed a very small portion of it. The soul of the Celestial Emperor that was being refined by the soul flame didn't change much, but the defeat in the soul had dimmed a bit. Wang Lin didn't think about anything that happened outside. The secret chamber he was in was guarded by many guards, and no one was allowed to enter. During these 3 years, Prince Ji-du didn't leave but stayed in the palace. Occasionally, some people would come from outside and talk with him. Then they would leave with excitement and respect. During these 3 years, Prince Ji-du would come to Wang Lin's secret chamber every morning regardless of the important matter. He would look at the secret chamber with a fanatical gaze for half an hour before respectfully leaving. On this day 3 years later, Wang Lin opened his eyes for the first time while he was in closed-door cultivation. The moment he opened his eyes, 2 rays of bright light flashed in his eyes. Overlapping shadows immediately appeared around his body. The 5-element true body stood up from Wang Lin's body, walked to the surface, and sat down. The 5-element true body contained the complete 5-element essences. They were all condensed into a true body, and when they fused into one, the 5 elements were complete. This was the manifestation of Wang Lin's extremely powerful essences. This was almost the limit, unless he went one step further and made the 5-element true body become a true god. After the 5-element true body sat down, it closed its eyes and immersed itself in cultivation with Wang Lin's main body. Time passed, and another 3 years went by. This was already the 6th year of Wang Lin's closed-door cultivation. Overlapping shadows once again appeared around his body, and an aura of slaughter surrounded him. Wang Lin's slaughter thunder true body walked out from Wang Lin's main body. His black hair fluttered in the wind as he sat down cross-legged in another direction. At this moment, the scene inside the secret room was very strange. The 3 identical Wang Lins were sitting in a triangle and all of them were cultivating while guarding each other's eyes. As for the Celestial Emperor's soul, after 6 years of refinement, the decay of the soul was even slower. Perhaps one day, when the decay completely stopped, Wang Lin would be able to slowly refine it. Time passed without a trace. Another 3 years passed. On the 9th year of Wang Lin's closed-door cultivation, an overlapping shadow appeared around Wang Lin's main body for the 3rd time. This shadow wasn't able to condense into a true body yet. After it appeared, it turned into a blurry ball of light that floated out of Wang Lin's body and stopped 10 feet behind him. Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at his 3 essence bodies. During these 9 years, Wang Lin had pushed his cultivation and the power of luck to the peak. At the same time, his 3 essence bodies had reached their respective peak. The current him was confident that he wouldn't be at a disadvantage against Grand Empyrean Tao E at his peak. He even vaguely felt that he could suppress Tao E. Among the Grand Empyreans, Tao E of the Celestial Clan is the weakest. With my current cultivation and combat power, although I can't compare to Jiu-Ti, I'm close to Wu Feng. Even in the ancient Shi, Grand Empyrean Song Tian, whose strength is similar to Xian Luo's, I have the power of one rank, but the outcome is unknown. And this is under the premise that I haven't used my strongest avatar. Wang Lin's expression was calm and he pondered. A moment later, he looked at the Celestial Emperor's soul that was being refined by his soul fire. Using my soul fire to burn it does have some effect, but it takes a long time. I don't know when it will be completed. After refining the Celestial Emperor's soul, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. I don't need to consider the five-element true body for now. After it was completed in the ancient Tao Imperial City, it allowed my cultivation level to reach the void turbulent stage. This shows that my speculation and analysis were correct. If I want to increase my cultivation level, the next step is this Slaughter Thunder true body. Wang Lin's gaze fell on the Slaughter Thunder true body, and his eyes revealed a strange light. This true body is what I need. Teacher. He took me to many places in the ancient clan and obtained enough things. Wang Lin let out a sigh as his gaze moved from the Slaughter Essence true body to the direction of the ancient Tao clan. It was as if his gaze could penetrate the walls of the secret chamber and see the old man who was no longer young. After a long time, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He had chosen to go into closed-door cultivation because he was prepared to not come out until his cultivation level increased. He had to increase his cultivation level. Not only did he have to have the power to defeat Grand Empyrean Song Tian, but he also had to have enough power that he wouldn't have to fear the ancient Tao in the ancient clan. Only then would he be confident that Grand Empyrean Song Tian would choose Jidu as the emperor and allow him to enter the ancestral temple. Most importantly, in the immemorial God realm, he would have the power to break through all the fog and the unknown purpose of the ancient Tao imperial teacher. Grand Empyrean Jidao's attitude is very strange. He didn't come looking for me because of the ancient Tao, but only my own strength is the key to solving all problems. I can't leave my life and death in the hands of another. Wang Lin looked at his Slaughter Huating true body with bright eyes. His path of cultivation was completely different from that of others. It was a path that he had explored himself, a path that only he, Huang Ji, could guide him. Step by step, he would see how far Huang Ji could go. This Slaughter Thunder true body is formed by a special essence. The Thunder essence has already become an essence true body, but the other essences are only at completion. Slaughter, absolute extinction, absolute beginning, restriction. Wang Lin muttered as he raised his right hand and pointed at the Slaughter Thunder true body. With one point, the Slaughter Thunder true body trembled and slowly split before Wang Lin. The true form was instantly surrounded by lightning. As arcs of lightning swam about, they separated into 4 balls of fog. The moment one of the balls of fog appeared, the chamber instantly became cold, and a crazed murderous intent filled the area. This was the Slaughter essence. There was also a cloud of fog that contained countless mysterious runes. As the fog moved, more and more runes appeared. This was the restriction essence. As for the remaining 2 clouds of fog, one had a bright glow and the other was completely black. They were absolute beginning and absolute extinction. Only when these 4 essences form an essence true body and fuse together will my Slaughter Thunder true body reach completion. Then my cultivation will take another step from peak void turbulent. This step may be Empyrean Exalt or Ascendant Empyrean, but it is also possible that it will be neither. Instead, it will be an unknown realm. Perhaps it will be the Grand Empyrean realm. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with anticipation. According to his understanding, The so-called Empyrean Exalt and Ascendant Empyrean Exalt were merely peak void tribulant cultivators. It was too difficult to take that step to become a Grand Empyrean, so they were divided. In truth, whether it was an Empyrean Exalt or an Ascendant Empyrean, they were all peak void tribulant cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. After pondering a bit, he raised his right hand and waved at the ceiling of the secret chamber. With this wave, a strange change occurred to the ceiling of the secret chamber. It turned into the sky. Blue sky, white clouds, clear sky, but there was no sun. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to grab the absolute beginning essence and throw it at the canopy. The essence flew into the canopy and gave off a bright light like the sun. Wang Lin looked up at the ceiling that had turned into the sky. Under his gaze, the sky began to rotate. This rotation caused the law of the world to change. It was as if an entire day had passed. The absolute beginning essence that had turned into the sun gradually disappeared. Chapter 2044. The moment it disappeared and the sky darkened, Wang Lin grabbed the fog of the silent extinction essence and waved his hand. The fog rushed into the dark sky and disappeared. Staring at the ceiling, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He raised his hand, formed a seal, and softly said, "Master, I'm going to kill you." Flowing time. His self-created spell, Flowing Time, could reverse 1,000 years of time in an instant. This spell could not only be used in battle, but now Wang Lin was using it to strengthen his essence. The operation of the world was very difficult for cultivators to control, especially for people like Wang Lin, who could create his own world from nothing and seal his own night and light. It was even more difficult. If an outsider saw this, they would be shocked. The Dao Wang clan's spell to create a cave, the Grand Empyrean's spell to create something from nothing, and I can create my own world. Adding on my flowing moon power, I can create the trajectory of the world. I've only refined one wall of this chamber, so I can control it. Wang Lin looked at the ceiling and saw that in a short period of time, the sky had changed from night to day dozens of times. I hope I can use this method to deepen my comprehension of the absolute beginning and silent extinction essences. Wang Lin slapped his forehead, and a sliver of his origin soul flew into the ceiling to feel the change between black and white. After Wang Lin fused this sliver of origin soul with the ceiling, he no longer thought about it. Comprehension was not something that could be done in a short period of time. After a few years, when he took this origin soul back, he would obtain everything he had comprehended during this period of time. Restriction Essence. Wang Lin looked at the fog that was filled with mysterious runes. This fog was the restriction essence, and it had accompanied him since the land of the god of luck. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin remembered that his teacher, Xian Luo, had taken him to a few places. He had obtained a large amount of restrictions there, and they had helped him greatly in strengthening his restriction essence. With a sigh, Wang Lin pointed at the five-element true body. The five-element true body suddenly opened its eyes and looked at Wang Lin. The five-element true body stood up and turned into 5 rays of light that entered the restriction essence. It replaced Wang Lin to fuse with the large amount of restrictions and strengthen the restriction essence. In the end, Wang Lin looked at the Slaughter Thunder Essence true body, the most important and elusive slaughter essence. Slaughter. The first time he appeared, he called himself Slaughter. The ancient Tao imperial teacher also knows this body. Wang Lin had a complicated expression. He had some speculations in his heart, but he buried them deep in his heart. The slaughter essence is immortal, and it represents destruction, so it cannot be erased. This slaughter essence is only complete and can't form an essence true body. I don't know if what I'm doing is right or wrong. Wang Lin hesitated. I've been suppressing the slaughter essence. It was born from the fusion of thunder, and I used the restrictions to balance it. Then, because I comprehended the silent extermination essence, I strengthened the slaughter essence. Then, I used the absolute beginning essence to balance it. From the looks of it, if I can form an essence true body, I should be able to suppress it to balance it. Besides, I have another way. Wang Lin murmured and revealed a decisive gaze. At this moment, he had no choice but to do this. If he wanted to increase his cultivation level, he had to do this. Staring at the slaughter essence and the thunder essence true body, Wang Lin made up his mind. The thunder essence true body opened its eyes and the thunder essence true body opened its mouth. It inhaled the essence incense, and the thunder around its body turned black. Slaughter thunder annihilation, descend once more. Looking at this strange essence true body, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. His hands formed a seal and pointed at the true body. The slaughter thunder essence true body flew toward Wang Lin and overlapped with Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin had used his countless years of slaughter to strengthen the slaughter essence. During the fusion, there was an overlapping shadow on Wang Lin's body, as if it would be very difficult for it to completely fuse in a short period of time. However, Wang Lin was not surprised, as if he had already known this would happen. His hands continued to form seals, and he pointed at his body. Every time he pointed, the slaughter thunder essence true body would dissipate a bit. As Wang Lin continued to point, sweat gradually appeared on his forehead, and his expression became extremely solemn. After an unknown amount of time, when he pointed at his body for the last time, the slaughter thunder essence true body had completely fused with his body. After there were no more overlapping shadows, Wang Lin bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood. He waved his right hand and the blood turned into runes that flew back and stuck to Wang Lin's body. Blood refinement. Wang Lin let out a low roar and closed his eyes, remaining motionless. He wanted to strengthen this slaughter essence, and at the same time, in order to prevent any accidents in the future, he wanted to refine silence of slaughter. This was the second time he had refined the slaughter thunder essence. The first time was when the slaughter thunder essence true body was accidentally born. Time passed without a trace. 1 year passed, and then another, and yet another year passed without anyone noticing it. On the immortal astral continent, when the immemorial God realm appeared, the undercurrent became even more silent. However, the more silent it was, the more oppressive it became. The sects in the land of immortals fell silent. It was a rare sight, and not a single battle broke out. Clearly, all of them were gathering their strength to accumulate their strength for the auspicious event that would happen hundreds of years later. Almost all the sects with the slightest bit of influence sensed the pressure, and at the same time, they had a feeling that a great battle of immortals, which they had not seen for a long time, would happen hundreds of years later. In this war, there might be Grand Empyreans falling. As for Ascendant Empyreans, Empyrean Exalts, and various sects, some would be eliminated and some would shock the world. The G clan was the same. The 3 clans executed the order from Grand Empyrean Gu Dao and began to prepare for the war. Under the oppressive feeling, the Grand Empyreans of the Bei clan were all in closed-door cultivation. In the Ji clan, Luo Chun had become the new emperor. However, he was still unfamiliar with the ancient Tao and would need some time to adapt before he could truly have everything. During this process, the divine emperor ancestor Yi Wei temporarily replaced the emperor to deal with the ancient Tao. As for Xian Luo, after Luo Chen became the emperor, he went into closed-door cultivation. His time to reincarnate was approaching, and he was about to face the immemorial God realm. For Xian Luo, now was not the best time to reincarnate. He couldn't reincarnate, he had to suppress it and wait for everything to calm down before he could reincarnate. The ancient Shur was also facing a similar problem. The old emperor's time of 10,000 years was approaching. According to the ancient agreement, unless Grand Empyrean Gu Dao allowed it, he must abdicate and pass the position of emperor to his descendants. There was still more than 100 years before he had to abdicate. The ancient Shur emperor remained silent because he had no right to choose. The princes of the ancient Shur all looked at Grand Emperor Song Tian. Ji-du had visited many times, but none of his attempts had succeeded. He had been stopped outside Origin Mountain. The time was getting closer and closer, and once Grand Emperor Song Tian made a decision, it would be too late. At this moment, there were 3 people sitting in Prince Ji-du's palace. One of them was Ji-du, and he had a frown on his face. He looked anxious and hesitant. Beside him was a young woman. She didn't look very old, and she would occasionally look at Ji-du with anxiety in her eyes. Imperial brother, Senior Wang Lin has been in closed-door cultivation for a full 100 years. The date of father's abdication is getting closer and closer. According to tradition, the new emperor should be decided 100 years before the abdication. In terms of time, it was estimated that there would be a definite news in the next few years. If you don't ask Senior Wang Lin for help, I fear it will be too late. The young woman let out a sigh. She was the girl beside Ji-du. A few decades ago, she had married a genius of the ancient Shur. That genius was the strongest of the new generation in the ancient Shur and had become Ji-du's confidant. At this moment, he was sitting next to the young woman and coldly watching all of this. Rumor has it that this senior is the 10th son of the immortal astral continent. However, after he left the ancient Tao, he immediately went into closed-door cultivation. It looks like he was injured. Can he make Lord Song change his mind? The person who spoke was a young man in purple. He was the husband of the young woman. Imperial brother. The young woman became even more anxious. There is no need to say anything. Before Godfather went into closed-door cultivation, he said not to disturb him under any circumstances. Prince Ji struggled for a long time before he let out a sigh and decisively said, "This." The young woman bit her lower lip. Seeing how decisive Ji-du was, she swallowed her words. Only the purple-robed young man revealed a sneer. He obviously didn't think that Wang Lin, who he had never seen before, was as terrifying as the rumors made him out to be. Even if Godfather hadn't come out of closed-door cultivation, with 100 years of preparation, I can still go. Chi-Man and my imperial brother. I wonder if Lord Song will still choose a dead person to be the emperor if they die. Ji-du's eyes revealed a flash of coldness. After he spoke, a cold feeling filled the hall. The young woman's heart trembled. She wanted to say something, but her words turned into bitterness. The imperial brother before her had changed too much in the past 100 years. She felt like he was a stranger. The hall was completely silent. When the purple-robed young man heard Minister Ji's words, he also fell silent. After a long time, he suddenly raised his head. Just as he was about to speak, a powerful pressure suddenly descended upon the hall without a sound. The moment this pressure appeared, the sky changed colors, the wind and clouds scattered, and the entire world underwent a shocking change. It was as if an indescribable aura had rushed into the sky from Wang Lin's secret room. The originally sunny and windy sky seemed to have collapsed at this moment. Large amounts of debris appeared and rumbled in all directions. A heavenly phenomenon. It came from Godfather's closed-door cultivation. Godfather has come out. Ji-du suddenly stood up with an excited expression. Friendly recommendation, new book by Sharp Knife. Book number 2104762. This is a large, beautiful, and mysterious world of battle energy. There are countless hidden powerhouses. On the path of martial arts, one must fight against the heavens, the earth, and others. One must never surrender or retreat. If the path in front of them is blocked, then use their fists to create a path. As long as one has the heart of a powerhouse, it doesn't matter what is in front of them, they will shatter it with one punch. God of War Transformation, Blood Boiling. Chapter 2045. Fog appeared in the sky, churning like a mushroom as it spread out in all directions. As it spread out, it covered the sky, causing darkness to fall over the land. A powerful pressure descended from the sky. When it enveloped the area below, the ground began to tremble. It was as if the ground had a spirit and was afraid of the pressure. Inside the palace, aside from Prince Jidu and the others, there were also many guards. These guards all had the power of the ancient clan, and some of them had even become saints with 27 stars. However, at this moment, as the pressure descended, the faces of the nearly 1,000 guards turned pale. Their bodies began to tremble, and popping sounds could be heard coming from within them. It was as if they couldn't bear the pressure. What divine ability did he cultivate in the past 100 years to produce such pressure? Inside the palace, the expression of the purple-robed young man changed greatly. Even with his cultivation, he felt like he couldn't bear it. As for the young woman, she couldn't even stand up. She sat on the chair and sweat appeared on her forehead. Prince Jidu was excited. During the 100 years that Wang Lin had been in closed-door cultivation, he hadn't dared to disturb him. Even when he encountered a life-and-death crisis, he had clenched his teeth and endured it. However, all of this was about to pass. He felt the aura of his godfather, Wang Lin, inside this pressure. As the fog in the sky continued tumbling about, a strange shadow suddenly appeared within it. That shadow was a fiery red sun. It manifested in the fog and shone with a brilliant light. At the instant that light spread out, the fog in all directions tumbled backwards once more. Booming sounds echoed in the air, and the fog spread out without end. From afar, the entire country where Prince Jidu's palace was located was shrouded by this fog. Countless ancient Sure people trembled and found it difficult to resist this pressure. Their bodies seemed to be frozen and couldn't move at all. In particular, the nearly 1,000 guards in the palace were the closest to this pressure. Their bodies were all trembling and their hearts were filled with fear. Inside the palace, the purple-robed young man was covered in sweat. Even his robe was mostly wet. His face was ashen and his eyes were filled with terror. He had met Grand Emperor Song Tian before, but even before Grand Emperor Song Tian, he wasn't this afraid. It was as if his life and death depended on a single thought from this pressure. The rumor about this person named Ran Guan from more than 100 years ago involuntarily appeared in the purple-robed young man's mind. The disrespectful thoughts he had before suddenly disappeared. In his view, the person who could give off this pressure was comparable to Grand Emperor Song Tian. As this pressure spread and the fog shrouded the ancient Sure, far away outside the imperial city, there was a palace on a mountain that pierced into the sky. This mountain was known as the Origin Mountain. The peak of the mountain was in the shape of a bull's horn, as if it could shatter the void. The temple was built on one end of the horn. This temple was called the Ancient Sure Temple. It was the holy land of the Ancient Sure, second only to the ancestral temple. It was also the place where the Ancient Sure people learned spells. Usually, many clan members would come to visit this place. However, today, Origin Mountain emitted a majestic pressure that prevented everyone from entering. A middle-aged man sat cross-legged on the other end of the horn. He wore a green robe and his hair reached his waist. He looked into the distance with a slightly solemn expression. There was another person behind him. He was a young man with a rough appearance and a hint of ferociousness. However, that ferociousness had disappeared and was replaced by shock. He was also looking into the distance. With his cultivation level, he shouldn't have been able to detect the pressure from the distance. However, as he stood behind the middle-aged man, he felt it through a strange method. "Teacher, rise. This is..." The young man took a deep breath. He saw his teacher's gloomy expression and subconsciously swallowed his words. Aside from Wang Lin, who caused a ruckus at the ancient Dao Palace more than 100 years ago, killed the ancient Dao Emperor, came to my ancient Sure, and was worshipped by your royal brother. Who else could it be? There was a flash of coldness in the middle-aged man's eyes. After hearing the name, Wang Lin, the rough young man gasped. After pondering a bit, he suddenly spoke. "Teacher still hasn't appointed me as the next emperor. Could it be because of this person? The middle-aged man let out a cold snort. Teacher has seen this Wang Lin once before, and it was his teacher, Xian Luo, who brought him here. His cultivation level is not weak and his combat power is extraordinary, but he is not a threat to me. The reason he was able to escape from the ancient Dao Palace is because Xian Luo didn't act. However, after this person killed the ancient Dao Emperor, Grand Emperor Gu Dao still hasn't said anything. This is very puzzling, and it is because of this that teacher didn't choose the future emperor in a hurry. What teacher worries about is not this person, but Grand Emperor Gu Dao's thoughts. As for this person, there is no need to worry about him. The middle-aged man looked at the faint pressure coming from the distance and slowly said. He was the ancient Shi's Grand Emperor Song Tian, and the young man behind him was Prince Dong Man. The young man on the side let out a sigh of relief. He hesitated a bit and then asked. Teacher, now that Wang Lin has come out of closed-door cultivation, his cultivation level should have increased compared to 100 years ago. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to give off such pressure. The middle-aged man didn't speak, but his pupils shrank an undetectable amount. After looking for a while, he slowly spoke. He is fusing with his essence true body. This essence true body is a bit extraordinary, and it will be very difficult for him to completely fuse with it. However, since he chose to fuse with his essence true body in my ancient Shi and didn't inform me, he is looking down on me too much. Also, since he is participating in the battle for the ancient Shi Emperor's position, teacher will have to teach him a lesson. Although the middle-aged man is worried about Grand Emperor Gu Dao's thoughts, he is still a Grand Emperor and the guardian of the ancient Shi. Within the ancient Shi, he has the right to deal with anything he deems a threat. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes, and he suddenly raised his right hand. He formed a seal and pointed toward the direction of Wang Lin's pressure. Unseal. As he muttered, there was a flash of ghostly light on his right hand. At the same time, in the center of the ancient clan, on Mount Gu Dao, on the top of the towering tower, the figure covered in fog opened his eyes and looked toward the ancient Shi. Essence true body fusion? After a long time, the figure spoke in a hoarse voice. His words were calm and didn't reveal any emotion. It was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. In the country where Ji Du's palace was located, the sky above the palace was shrouded in fog. When the sun appeared, the world changed colors and the fog seemed to boil. It slowly turned into night. In a short period of time, the fog alternated between night and sun. After 9 times, a soft chant came from the palace. As the sound echoed, all the fog turned into flashing runes. Each rune contained the power of the restriction essence. Time slowly passed, and in the blink of an eye, several hours went by. During these several hours, more and more restrictions appeared. The alternating between black and white became more frequent, but they still didn't fuse. In addition, there were signs of instability. The alternating between black and white weakened and looked like it was going to collapse. The large amount of restrictions also showed signs of dissipating. Just at this moment, a heaven-shaking roar echoed in the air. 5 rays of light charged out from the palace. It was impossible to see their appearances clearly, but when they gathered in the sky and fused into one, they formed an illusory figure. That shadow was Wang Lin. However, it wasn't Wang Lin's original body, but his 5-element true body. His body was illusory and only the size of a normal person. However, when he inhaled, the world rumbled and endless origin energy rushed into his 5-element true body. His body expanded to 1,000 feet in the blink of an eye. This origin energy was, in fact, the power of the 5 elements. The true form didn't stop. Instead, it took another deep breath, causing the earth to tremble. Heavenly fire appeared, rain became hazy, and the vegetation withered. The metal essence energy in the air also moved, transforming into the energy of the world and being sucked into the true form's mouth. As thunderous rumbles echoed, the 1,000-foot shadow expanded once more and turned into a 10,000-foot giant. Standing tall in the world, the 10,000 feet tall true body of the five elements stretched out its arms. As the essence of the five elements surrounded the area, it caused the alternation of black and white to calm down. The flickering of the runic symbols no longer showed any signs of dissipating. But just as the three essences of absolute beginning, and silent extermination stabilized, a brutal roar came from the depths of the prefecture. This roar was filled with madness and shocking power. This caused the hearts of the ancient Sure members to tremble and panic, and fear appeared in their eyes. The moment this roar echoed, Prince Ji-Du's body trembled and he coughed out blood. His eyes were filled with shock. "It's Luo Mian." The purple-robed young man's face was pale. When he heard the name Luo Mian, he remembered a rumor about Prince Ji-Du. It was rumored that when the prince was born, there was a phenomenon that appeared in the world, but it was a shadow that represented great misfortune. That was why the royal family hid it, and the imperial teacher at the time forced it to disappear. Not many people knew about this, but over the past 100 years, it had spread through the ancient Sure once more for some unknown reason. Rumor had it that the reason Prince Ji-Du had built his palace in the Luo Mian country was because what was sealed here was the fierce beast Luo Jia that had been defeated by the ancient ancestor. Ji-Du could suppress the Luo Jia country and nourish his fate here. This was something the imperial teacher had arranged before he died. The roar became more and more intense, and soon, a giant shadow appeared in the distance. It was a ball of flesh with only one eye that was filled with ferocity and madness. Its entire body was illusory, and when it appeared, it stared at Wang Lin's five-element true body and origin. There was a flash of greed in its eye. Chapter 2046. The round ball of flesh was illusory, and after it appeared, it was surrounded by black gas. With a roar, it turned into a ray of light and charged toward Wang Lin's 10,000 feet, five-element true body. As it got closer, the roar became even sharper. However, the moment it closed in, Wang Lin was sitting in the secret room in the palace. His right hand was still raised, and on his palm was a small person. It was also sitting there, and seemed to be cultivating at the same time. Wang Lin opened his eyes. After more than 100 years of closed-door cultivation, Wang Lin was no longer the same as before. His expression was calm, and he did not reveal any emotions. The moment he opened his eyes, the small person in his right palm also opened its eyes. There was a hint of wisdom in its eyes, and there was even a flash of divination. The small person in Wang Lin's palm knelt down and kowtowed to Wang Lin. After kowtowing 9 times, Wang Lin closed his right hand, and the small person disappeared without a trace. "The Soul I Dao is indeed mysterious," Wang Lin muttered as he looked up, and a cold smile appeared on his face. 20 years ago, I used this technique to make divination to find the opportunity to completely fuse with my Slaughter Thunder true body. After countless divination attempts, I finally found that to fuse with this true body, I needed the soul of a great ferocious beast. Only the soul of this great ferocious beast could fuse with the Slaughter Thunder true body. I divined that the soul of this great ferocious beast would be personally delivered to me on the day I fuse with my true body. That soul has indeed come. Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. With this point of his finger, the entire sky suddenly changed. The alternating black and white suddenly stopped, and even the flashing of the countless runes stopped. Even the five-element true body seemed to freeze. At the same time, Luo Ho, who was roaring and charging over, suddenly stopped moving forward. His roar came to a sudden halt. His entire illusionary body seemed to have become still and was frozen in this world. There was still savagery in his soul eye, but that savagery had also been frozen. Stop spell. With Wang Lin's current cultivation level, the power of this spell was heaven-shaking. The moment Luo Ho was frozen, the alternating black and white returned to normal, the runes recovered, and the five-element true body recovered. Soon after, the countless runes surged towards Luoho, who had stopped moving. In an instant they rushed into his illusory body. Endless dark light erupted from Luoho's illusory body, and after absorbing all the runes at a speed visible to the naked eye, it shrank by a small half. The ferociousness in his single eye disappeared, and was replaced by an illusory figure. This figure was blurry, but it quickly became solid. In the blink of an eye, it turned into Wang Lin. The figure that looked exactly like Wang Lin smiled, and walked out of the eye. His body was filled with powerful restriction essence power. This was the restriction essence true body that Wang Lin had used the power of the soul of this great ferocious beast to form. At the same time, the morning sun turned into a long arc in the sky where black and white alternated and instantly fused into Luoho's body. Luoho trembled, and his body shrank slightly once more. A human-shaped shadow appeared in his single eye once more. This figure gave off a bright light like the sun. It smiled and became corporeal. It walked out of the eye and stood next to the restriction essence true body. This body was the absolute beginning essence true body that Wang Lin had formed after going into closed-door cultivation for 100 years. He had used the flowing time spell, and the power of the cave the Dao Wang clan had created to replace the operation of the world. It had changed between night and sun countless times. Shortly after, the silent extermination essence that represented darkness swept up all the fog in the world and charged towards Luoho. It instantly fused into his body, and when Luoho's body shrank once again until he was only half of his previous size, his single eye became bloodshot, and a third essence true body walked out from within it. Silent extermination essence true body. During these 100 years of time, Wang Lin had used the Dao Wang clan's spell and flowing time to allow the absolute beginning and silent extermination essences to form their essence true bodies. However, he still couldn't fuse these special essences together, so he had to use the soul of this great ferocious beast to fight for that sliver of hope. The five essence true bodies absorbed the power of the fierce soul and used it to connect with each other, allowing the souls to instinctively try to fuse. The moment Wang Lin's three essence true bodies appeared, his eyes revealed a strange light. Overlapping shadows appeared around him and black lightning moved around him. The Slaughter Thunder essence body finally appeared and charged into the sky. When it charged into the sky, the Slaughter Thunder essence body released black arcs of lightning that spread in all directions, creating thunderous rumbles. After 100 years of nourishment and refining, this Slaughter essence can no longer be separated from me. There is no chance of it betraying me. Also, because of the nourishment, this Slaughter essence has the power to form an essence true body. Whether or not I can fuse the five essence true bodies into one will depend on this. Wang Lin's expression was serious as his hands formed a seal and a powerful divine sense spread out. The Slaughter Thunder body charged at Luoho, who had stopped moving, and charged into his body. Luoho's body trembled violently and shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, with a bang, he disappeared without a trace, leaving only the huge eye floating in the air. The eye was dim and looked like an egg from a distance. Time passed. After the time it takes an incense stick to burn, countless cracks appeared on the eye before it finally exploded. Two figures walked out from within. One of them was the Thunder essence that had already formed its essence true body. The other had a head of black hair and was filled with coldness and ruthlessness. It was the Slaughter essence true body. After the true body walked out, his expression was calm as he looked up into the sky. A shocking aura spread out from his body, an aura that could destroy all living things, destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. It represented the essence of slaughter. The black-haired Wang Lin muttered, "My name is Slaughter." He lowered his head and his gaze swept the earth. All the guards in the palace let out miserable screams when his gaze swept past them. This wasn't because of pain or death, but because of fear. A fear that came from the depths of their souls. Inside the palace, the purple-robed young man trembled, and his mind was filled with fear. Even Prince Ji-du was trembling, and his body was filled with fear. "My name is Slaughter." The black-haired Wang Lin suddenly raised his head and let out a roar at the sky. However, at this moment, a cold snort came from the palace on the ground. The moment this cold snort entered the ears of the black-haired Wang Lin, his roar immediately stopped, and pain and madness appeared on his face. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Thunder Essence true body turned around and turned into a bolt of lightning that charged toward the black-haired Wang Lin. It instantly fused with his body, causing the black lightning around him to surge like crazy. Shortly after, the Restriction Essence true body's eyes flashed and turned into countless runes. They formed a restriction storm that closed in and fused with the black-haired Wang Lin as he roared. At the same time, the Absolute Beginning Essence True Body and the Absolute Destruction Essence True Body took a step forward and turned into two rays of black and white light that instantly closed in and fused with the black-haired Wang Lin's body. "My name is Slaughter." A ferocious expression appeared on the black-haired Wang Lin's face, and his roar turned into a roar. Overlapping shadows immediately appeared on his body, and they were the shadows of the other four true bodies. By the looks of it, he wanted to force the true bodies out of his body. "No one can control me. I am Slaughter." As he roared, the overlapping shadows on his body were forced several inches away, making him look rather mysterious. A second cold snort rang out, causing the black-haired Wang Lin's body to tremble. At the same time, the five elements true body appeared above the black-haired Wang Lin. Its 10-feet-tall body suddenly shrank, and a great amount of power from the five elements erupted from it. It turned into a huge hand that pressed down on the black-haired Wang Lin. "I am Slaughter." The black-haired Wang Lin raised his head, and his eyes shone with the intent to destroy. Just as he was about to resist, a shocking pressure appeared in the area 100,000 feet around him. There was a powerful divine sense within that pressure, and it controlled the power of the world as it pressed down on the black-haired Wang Lin. At that moment, the shadow of Luo Ho appeared behind the black-haired Wang Lin. Luo Ho's appearance was torn apart, but there were countless black threads connecting it. Under the pressure, they slowly fused together, and as they fused together, the overlapping shadows on the black-haired Wang Lin's body stopped spreading. Instead, they fused with him. "Because you are the second true body of I, Wang Lin, you are Slaughter. From now on, you will replace me, Wang Lin, and you will be the enemy of all Wang Xing. Pass on the will of destruction to Wang Xing, and kill the souls that harm Wang Xing. I give you the name Slaughter, and my Dao name is Punishment." A mighty voice echoed across the world. The Luo Ho shadow behind the black-haired Wang Lin completely fused together. As for the four overlapping shadows on the black-haired Wang Lin's body, they completely fused with him. The pressure dissipated and the world returned to normal. The black-haired Wang Lin stood there with his black hair and slowly raised his head. "I am Punishment, Slaughter." His voice was calm and filled with endless coldness. There was no emotion and he was extremely ruthless. He represented Wang Lin's killing intent and destruction. He would make the heavens tremble, the earth tremble, and all enemies of Wang Lin Xing fear him. He raised his head and his indifferent gaze looked into the distance. This gaze seemed to be able to cross the endless distance and land on the horn of Origin Mountain outside the ancient Shur imperial city. It landed on Song Tian, who was sitting there with a face full of shock. "Not good." Song Tian's body trembled and he sucked in a breath of cold air. He subconsciously stood up, and as his expression changed greatly, he grabbed Chi-Man with his right hand and flew into the air. The moment he flew into the air, the horn he had been sitting on collapsed and turned into a large amount of rubble that fell off. Recommendation votes, monthly votes, Evil Zhou II In. Chapter 2047. In the Luoho Prefecture, When Wang Lin devoured the Luoho great evil soul to fuse with the slaughter soul, Prince Ji-du's body trembled and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. The moment he coughed out this mouthful of blood, it was as if an invisible seal inside his body had been broken. Prince Ji-du's eyes revealed a strange light. He could feel a power awakening inside his body. This power filled his body and made him close his eyes. Outside the palace, the black-haired Wang Lin's slaughter-true body slowly withdrew his gaze from Origin Mountain. His eyes were filled with indifference and ruthlessness. Beside him was Wang Lin's five-element true body with five-colored light revolving around it. Although these two true bodies looked the same, the feeling they gave off was completely different. The five-element true body represented Wang Lin's lifetime of cultivation. It gave off a gentle but powerful pressure. The slaughter true body represented Wang Lin's life of blood. It was cold and ruthless, making people's hearts turn cold and not dare to touch it. True body return. After a long while, a calm voice rang out from the secret room in the palace, reverberating through the world. The five-elemental true body lowered its head and looked at the secret room. Its body flickered and turned into a five-colored streak of light that shot towards the ground, disappearing in the blink of an eye. As for the slaughter true body, it didn't hesitate at all. Its black hair fluttered and its black robe fluttered in the wind. It slowly walked toward the earth and gradually dissipated. In the secret chamber of the palace, Wang Lin sat there. The five-element true body and slaughter true body stood before him. He looked at the two true bodies with a serious gaze. 100 years of cultivation and finally condensed this slaughter true body. Now I want to see if my cultivation can go from peak void turbulent to another step after it fuses with my original body. If my cultivation level can increase once more, perhaps I can completely expel the curse from the Celestial Emperor's soul and completely control it. Wang Lin took a deep breath and withdrew his gaze from the two true bodies. He looked at the soul of the Celestial Emperor that had been refined by his soul fire for 100 years. There was a flash of golden light and the gray aura had stopped spreading. It had condensed into a ball the size of a baby's fist and couldn't be expelled from the Celestial Emperor's soul. My cultivation is completely different from others. After reaching peak void turbulent, there are two titles, Empyrean Exalt and Ascendant Empyrean. In truth, whether it's Empyrean Exalt or Ascendant Empyrean, they are all peak void turbulent. And every time my cultivation level increases, it is divided by realm. Wang Lin suddenly had expectations. He wanted to know what kind of level he would reach after peak void turbulent if his cultivation level really increased. Grand Empyrean. Or. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with fervor as he muttered. Or. The fourth step. However, is there really a fourth step existence in this world? Could it be that the celestial ancestor and ancient ancestor were at the fourth step? Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he suppressed the anticipation in his heart. He pointed at the five-element true body and it stepped forward. It overlapped with Wang Lin's body and sat down. They became one, so there was no difference between them. The moment the five-element true body fused, Wang Lin's white hair moved without any wind and his cultivation surged. In an instant, he reached peak void turbulent. His 100-year soul was in closed-door cultivation, so he was full of energy and his cultivation was at its peak. Looking at the black-haired slaughter essence true body, Wang Lin clenched his teeth and revealed a decisive gaze. He raised his right hand and pointed at the slaughter essence true body. The slaughter essence true body looked at Wang Lin with a ruthless gaze and began to walk toward him. In the blink of an eye, the slaughter essence true body closed in on Wang Lin. It didn't stop and overlapped with Wang Lin's body. Then it turned around and overlapped with Wang Lin's body and slowly fused. As the process of fusing continued, Wang Lin's eyes gradually became filled with confusion. At the same time, his cultivation level increased at an indescribable speed and caused the world to change. Wang Lin's cultivation level seemed to break through a bottleneck and reach a strange realm beyond peak void turbulent. During this process, his cultivation level surpassed the so-called Empyrean exalt set by later generations and directly reached the so-called ascendant Empyrean. It continued and showed no signs of stopping. The confusion in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. He felt like he had lost his mind and was in an illusory state. As his cultivation level continued to rise, he passed the ascendant Empyrean level and rushed toward another limit. This limit was the limit of Grand Empyrean. After an unknown amount of time, the Slaughter Essence true body and Wang Lin's fusion was more than half complete. There were only a few overlaps left and they would soon fuse into one. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a silver light. His eyes were filled with confusion and confusion. In the end, there was a thunderous rumble in his mind, and Wang Lin felt like his soul had left his body. He felt his soul leave his body, penetrate the limits of his body, penetrate the secret chamber, and appear in the sky. The sky was no longer blue and there was no sun, moon, or stars. It was as if Wang Lin's soul was the only thing left in this vast world. He looked at the earth. The earth was covered in white fog, and he couldn't see through it. He looked at the sky. The sky was covered in fine lines that seemed to have their own laws. Each line had its own law. This is the sky. Wang Lin was confused. He couldn't see the sky. He could only see these thin lines. Even when he used all his strength to look, he could only see that there were even more thin lines beyond the endless lines. There was no end to them. With confusion, Wang Lin wanted to fly up. He had a vague feeling that if he could step out of these endless lines, he would be able to take the step beyond peak void turbulent. This step would be a leap in life, a shocking transformation. It would be like a butterfly breaking out of a cocoon and flying out. This feeling was extremely strong and deep, as if it was buried in the depths of his soul. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin suddenly looked up. Although there was still confusion in his eyes, there was more decisiveness. Without hesitation, he charged toward the endless lines. His speed was so fast that even he could not sense it clearly. However, as he continued moving forward, he charged into the endless lines that were like the sea. He allowed the lines to surround him, but he continued moving forward day by day. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin saw a bridge in the endless sea of lines. More accurately, it wasn't one bridge, but 9 bridges. After this bridge, there was another bridge that was like a rainbow. After that, there were many more rainbow-like bridges that lined the sky. They gave off an ancient aura, and it was unknown how long they had existed. It was as if they had existed since the world was born. Behind the distant 9th bridge, there was an illusory screen. There seemed to be another world inside, and one could vaguely see the figure of a person. However, when Wang Lin looked closely, he couldn't see anything. It was a blur. Heaven trampling bridge, Wang Lin muttered. He saw a giant stone tablet under the first bridge, and there were 4 large words engraved on it. These words were very strange, and Wang Lin had never seen them before. However, when he saw them, a strange meaning appeared in his mind. Aside from these 4 words, there was another line of smaller words on the stone tablet. Wang Lin silently pondered and looked over. Trampling heaven's path, void extermination Tao, immortal soul, all living beings worship. Wang Lin was in a trance. Years ago, he had vaguely heard that if there really was a 4th step, it would be called heaven trampling. After standing outside the first bridge for a long time, the trance on Wang Lin's face gradually disappeared. His eyes shined brightly, and after pondering for a moment, he looked up and walked toward the first bridge. One step at a time, the first bridge seemed very close, but in truth, it took several hours. When Wang Lin arrived at the bottom of the bridge, he was finally able to see it clearly. The bridge was illusory, without any corporeal substance. He could see it, but he couldn't sense it with divine sense. The ancient aura it gave off indicated that it was not something that could be constructed by humans. Heaven Trampling Bridge. Wang Lin raised his right hand and gently touched the bridge before him, but he easily passed through it. He was startled and carefully looked at his hand. There were some sparkling particles of light in his hand. Each particle contained powerful vitality, and they gradually flew out of Wang Lin's hand and returned to the first bridge. Wang Lin closed his eyes and stood there. After the time it takes half an incense stick to burn, he suddenly opened his eyes and stepped toward the first heaven trampling bridge. The moment he stepped onto the bridge, Wang Lin could clearly feel his soul body sublimate. It was as if he could clearly understand a large amount of the laws of the world. He had never felt this kind of feeling before. He stood motionlessly on the bridge. After a long time, Wang Lin let out a deep breath and looked at the bridge with a strange gaze. He walked forward step by step. When he reached the end of the first bridge, the changes in the laws of the world seemed to be imprinted in his mind, and it was impossible to erase them. He raised his head and looked into the distance. The blurry and illusory scene behind the 9th bridge had become slightly clearer at this moment. It seemed to be a place where birds sang and flowers bloomed. However, the figures inside were increasingly blurry. He could not even tell how many people there were. Silently, Wang Lin walked down the first bridge and slowly walked toward the second heaven trampling bridge. He had a strong feeling that if he could cross the 9th bridge, he would be able to clearly see what was inside. When he could clearly see what was inside the illusory scene on the 9th bridge, he would be able to break through to the 3rd step and enter the legendary heaven trampling Tao. Chapter 2048. The first bridge and the second bridge looked very close, but in truth, Wang Lin felt like he had been flying for several days before he arrived under the second bridge. This bridge was several times larger than the first bridge. Standing under the bridge, Wang Lin didn't hesitate to step on it. The moment his foot landed, his soul body rumbled as if it was about to collapse. It was as if he wasn't qualified to step on this bridge with his cultivation level. As the rumbles echoed, Wang Lin's mind seemed to explode. The world spun and his divine sense and soul were separated. He vaguely saw a continent in the depths of the fog. He was very familiar with this continent. There were 72 continents on the left and 36 countries on the right. In the middle was a vast basin, and there was a vertical ocean that rotated like crazy. As for the depths of the ocean, he saw 9 giant pillars that were connected to form the shape of a door. The door was closed and didn't open. Heaven trampling. Am I currently heaven trampling? Wang Lin couldn't feel his own existence as he looked at the earth below. He silently pondered and then looked toward the Celestial Clan. The 72 continents of the Celestial Clan suddenly changed into 72 fierce beasts that roared at the sky. Among them were the Heavenly Bull, the Green Devil Scorpion, and many other fierce beasts he had seen in the Empyrean trial. These fierce beasts seemed to have noticed Wang Lin's existence and gaze, and as they roared, Wang Lin could clearly feel their fear. However, there was another meaning to that fear. At this moment, when Wang Lin went into closed-door cultivation to reach the legendary realm after reaching Void Tribulant, the Celestial Clan trembled. The 72 continents trembled and a pressure spread out. The Celestial Clan cultivators clearly felt it, but they didn't know what was happening. As long as there was a suppression temple, it would be the center of every continent's trembling. The tremors grew stronger and attracted the attention of many powerful warriors in the land of the immortals. In shock, they flew up and looked at the ground. They saw that the souls of the beasts from beyond the sky that were suppressed in the continents they were in were showing signs of becoming unstable. As the ground trembled, they became restless, and at the same time, an unbelievable scene was about to appear. On the Heavenly Bull continent, a giant Heavenly Bull appeared first. Its huge figure shrouded the entire Heavenly Bull continent. This giant Heavenly Bull let out a roar at the sky. Its eyes were filled with excitement and fear, but even more than that, it was pleading. It begged the mysterious existence it felt in the sky to release it and give it freedom. Following the appearance of the heavenly bull, more and more souls of the beasts from beyond the heavens, suppressed by the 12 continents, appeared one after another in the Bay continent. Even some of the legendary existences that had already turned into dead souls appeared one by one. Although the phantoms they formed were blurry, their fearful and pleading howls towards the sky were equally shocking. Almost all the cultivators in the land of immortals saw this astonishing scene in all the continent. In the midst of their confusion, they panicked. The ground trembled even more violently, and as the ferocious beasts that manifested continued roaring, it looked as if chaos was about to descend upon the land. What is happening? In the Tao Yi sect, Grand Empyrean Tao Yi flew into the air. His expression was gloomy, but there was also a hint of fear. With his cultivation, he could clearly feel that all 72 continents of the Celestial Clan had undergone a drastic change. He stared ahead at the towering tree that had appeared on the Mountain Sea continent. The branches of the tree danced and let out a roar. Damn it, isn't the tree demon from outer heaven already dead? It still has a soul. What the hell is going on? Could it be that there is a problem with Lien Daofei's suppression in the ancestral city? Dao Yi looked at the giant tree and gasped. At the same time, in the northern continent, Wu Feng looked at the giant glacier giant in the distance. His expression was also gloomy and filled with fear. In the Purple Yang sect, Grand Empyrean Gemini flew out. She looked at the sky and frowned. In the ancestral city, on Mount Emperor, Grand Empyrean Jiu-Ti had his hands behind his back as he looked at the sky. He looked calm, but his pupils shrank, revealing the shock he felt. There is no problem with the underground palace. Lien Daofei is still asleep, but even so, he is still suppressing the 72 foreign souls. Behind Jiu-Ti, Haizi opened her eyes. Have you divined the result? What the hell is going on? Even those foreign souls that are pretending to be dead are desperately roaring at the sky and begging. What did they sense? Jiu-Ti's voice was cold, but there was a sense of fear in his heart. He looked at the sky but couldn't see anything. However, those 72 foreign souls were clearly begging the heavens. Haizi silently pondered and her hands formed a seal. A small person appeared in her right palm and continued to kowtow. However, Haizi frowned and found nothing. Her eyes lit up and she suddenly bit the tip of her tongue. She spat out a mouthful of blood that landed on the little person in her palm. The little person immediately turned blood red and let out a mournful roar. It kowtowed once more at Haizi. This time, Haizi's body trembled and she staggered. Her face turned pale and her eyes were filled with disbelief. They felt a heaven-trampling eye looking at them from the sky of the immortal astral continent. What? Jiu-Ti's expression changed greatly, and he could no longer hide the emotions in his heart. He looked up at the sky and felt his hair stand on end. Aside from the sky, he couldn't see anything, but he could imagine that there was a gaze from the sky looking at the immortal astral continent. Perhaps it was looking at him. Heaven trampling. This. Jiu-Ti's body trembled and he lost control of his cultivation. His body went from old to middle-aged and then back to old. This constant change was enough to show how shocked he was. Wang Lin looked at the Celestial Clan, at the 72 foreign beasts that were begging him in fear. He also saw Dao Yi's shock, Wu Feng's fear, Gemini's confusion, and Jiu-Ti's gaze from Mount Emperor. He saw them, but they couldn't feel his existence. Wang Lin's gaze fell on the ancestral city and swept past Jiu-Ti. At this moment, Jiu-Ti looked at the sky and felt his hair stand on end. He saw Haizi. He saw Lien Daofei, who had turned into a mountain, in the palace below the ancestral city. On Mount Emperor, Jiu-Ti's face was pale. He quickly flew into the air and bowed toward the heavenly kiln. Junior Zhou Luojiu greets Senior. If Senior has any orders, Junior will do his best to complete them. Ever since he became a Grand Empyrean, he had never bowed to anyone like this. However, at this moment, he was filled with fear, and his expression was filled with respect as he bowed toward the heavens. However, he did not receive any reply. Eventually, the roars of the illusory beasts from the 72 continents turned into despair. Their pleas grew deeper, and in the end they disappeared, causing the ground to return to normal. Once it stopped trembling, High Z trembled and spoke softly. This person has already left. When Jiao heard this, he respectfully bowed toward the heavens. After the time it takes an incense stick to burn past, he raised his head, and his face was pale as he landed. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the celestial clan. When he saw the heavenly bull and Lian Daofei, he wanted to save them, but he couldn't do it. In silence, he cast his gaze in the direction of the ancient clan. At the instant his gaze landed on them, the entire ancient clan burst into a commotion that was just as shocking as the immortals had been. The earth trembled and 36 foreign beasts appeared in the 36 countries. Among them was Luoho, whose soul had been devoured by Wang Lin. At this moment, Luoho's body had completely transformed. His head was a huge meatball that looked like a cultivation planet. His tail was like a dragon's tail, and it wasn't just 1, but 9. He was roaring at the sky with a pleading tone. Xian Luo awakened from his closed-door cultivation and immediately flew out. When he saw this, he gasped. There was also the ancient Shi's Song Tian. He was in the air, and was dumbfounded by the changes in the 30 countries. Could this be related to Wang Lin? Impossible, such a shocking scene can't be related to this person. The mysterious great Empyrean of the ancient Ji was also gloomily watching this scene from his place of closed-door cultivation. Wang Lin saw all of this, and in the end, his gaze fell on Mount Gudao. He saw the figure shrouded in fog at the top of the tower. A sigh came from the figure and he opened his eyes. They were calm, and when he looked up at the sky, he seemed to see Wang Lin's gaze. The moment their gazes met, Wang Lin also felt that the strongest person on the immortal astral continent had indeed seen him. The figure shrouded in fog slowly said, "You've finally reached this realm. Which bridge are you on?" "The second bridge. What about you?" Wang Lin silently pondered for a moment and slowly sent out a divine sense message. Even with his current cultivation level, he still couldn't see the appearance of Grand Empyrean Gu Dao. "Many years ago, I crossed the 5th bridge, but I stopped at the 6th bridge," Wang Lin calmly asked. "If you cross the 9th bridge, is it the 4th step?" The figure shrouded in fog softly said, "I don't know. Since ancient times, no one has crossed the 9th bridge, no one? What about the ancient ancestor and celestial ancestor? They all crossed the 8th bridge and stopped at the 9th bridge." Wang Lin voiced his doubt. "What kind of place is this heaven-trampling bridge?" "The immortal astral continent is very large. However, there are even more continents beyond this world. According to my understanding, the heaven-trampling bridge is a common path for all living beings." Grand Empyrean Jidao let out a sigh. There was a hint of confusion in his words. Perhaps even he didn't understand this question. Wang Lin silently pondered and slowly withdrew his gaze. Monthly Votes. Chapter 2049. Wang Lin's gaze slowly withdrew from the heaven-trampling bridge. He looked at the vast sea between the ancient clan and the celestial clan, at the gate to the Tai-Ji God realm formed by the 9 pillars. However, even with his current cultivation level, he still couldn't see the Tai-Ji God realm clearly. It was as if the existence of the Tai-Ji God realm was far beyond Wang Lin's current ability. Looking at the vast sea that was moving like a storm, Wang Lin closed his eyes. The moment he closed his eyes, his gaze disappeared from the immortal astral continent. When he opened his eyes again, he was standing on the 2nd heaven-trampling bridge in this unknown space. However, when he looked down, Wang Lin saw that although he was still standing on the bridge, he was not at the head but at the end. It was as if everything that had happened before had happened when he took those few steps. It was like a dream, so he couldn't tell if it was real or not. He looked at the heaven-trampling bridge, and then at the third bridge, and then the fourth, all the way to the ninth bridge. Beyond the ninth bridge was a blurry, illusory scene. It was impossible to see clearly, and seemed very far away. As he looked at it, his heart began to feel distant. It was as if each bridge represented an insurmountable mountain, and he couldn't help but think of stopping at the foot of the mountain. The moment this thought appeared, it expanded infinitely until it filled Wang Lin's entire body. It was as if a voice was whispering in his heart, telling him to turn back and leave this place. Don't walk down this path, don't walk toward the remaining 7 bridges. Wang Lin stood at the end of the second bridge. He only needed to take 1 step to walk off the bridge and cross the second bridge. However, he still couldn't take this last step. Time slowly passed, and it felt like a very long time had passed. Wang Tsai stood there and looked ahead. His expression was calm, but he let out a sigh. He lifted his right foot and took a step forward. He walked out of the second bridge and walked across the second heaven-trampling bridge. Did I ask myself? If my Tao heart wasn't strong, if I didn't have the will to defy the heavens, if I didn't have the determination to use my life to protect it, then I would have retreated at this step. Wang Lin murmured as he walked toward the third heaven-trampling bridge. The third bridge was very far away but also very close. However, after walking for 3 days, Wang Lin still hadn't reached the bottom of the bridge. He walked for another 3 days and repeated the same thing for another 3 days. Looking into the distance, the third bridge was still very far away but also very close. It wasn't until the 9th day that Wang Lin stopped. He stood where he was and pondered for a moment before he suddenly raised his head. There was a strange light in his eyes, and he slowly closed them. He didn't use his eyes to look or his divine sense to sense. Instead, he closed his eyes and sealed his divine sense. He didn't look at the location of the third bridge, nor did he look in its direction. Instead, he lifted his foot and casually walked forward. 1 step, another step. The instant he took the 9th step, he suddenly heard the chirping of birds beside him. There was also a gentle light that seemed to pass through his eyelids and be reflected in his pupils. He smelled the fragrance of the soil after the rain, as well as a familiar feeling and smell. It was the smell of wood chips and the spiciness of tobacco. He stopped in his tracks. Taizhu, how are your studies? Taijuko, you have to study hard. Next year is the county's examination. Whether you have a bright future will depend on this. Don't be like me, staying in the village for the rest of my life. Sigh. That's enough. You talk all the time. In my opinion, our Taizhu will definitely pass. It was the voices of his parents. It had been thousands of years since he last heard them. They were so real, and it was as if they had brought Wang Lin back to the peaceful mountain village thousands of years ago. Wang Lin quietly stood there and listened to his parents' voices. Tears unknowingly fell from the corners of his eyes. There was a voice in his heart that kept murmuring to him, telling him to open his eyes and suddenly look at his parents. But at the same time, Wang Lin also understood in his heart that if he opened his eyes, he would stop at the third bridge of heaven-trampling bridge. The first bridge allowed him to merge with the laws of the world into his divine sense. The second bridge allowed him to feel the heaven-trampling eyes, but he needed to ask himself if his heart was firm. Wang Su didn't understand why he would ask himself before, and why there was such hesitation at the end of the second bridge, but now he understood. Perhaps the third bridge was the devil in his heart. If his heart was firm and he walked all the way, even if his life flashed by, his heart would not waver. Then he would be able to cross the third bridge. But once he opened his eyes, he would have to face his devil in his heart and face his entire life. Because of this, his chances of crossing the third bridge would be greatly reduced. The voices of his parents were still in his ears, and more tears flowed from the corners of Wang Lin's eyes. However, he did not hesitate at all and opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw a familiar house, a familiar yard, and a familiar table with 1J5 dishes on it. He saw his father, who was tapping his opium pipe on the ground a few times. His face was wrinkled with age, and he saw the gentleness of family under his strict gaze. He saw his mother walking out of the house with freshly heated food. There were some white hairs on her head, but not much. They were hidden by her black hair, but Wang Lin still saw them. Perhaps his mother was not beautiful in the eyes of others, but in Wang Kai's heart, she was the most beautiful. She was the place in his heart where he would forever hide from the wind. Looking at his father and mother, looking at the familiar scene, Wang Lin's eyes were filled with tears, but a smile appeared on his face. He looked at everything in front of him, and when he opened his eyes, it slowly dissipated into nothingness. He knew it was fake, but he still had to take a look. When the scene shattered, Wang Lin stood under the second bridge, very far away from the third bridge. His father and mother were not cultivators, they were mortals, and could not be resurrected. The cycle of reincarnation was the best place for mortals to return to. But even if they were reincarnated, the memories that belonged to Wang Lin were eternal. He would not erase them, because they were more important than his life. Wang Lin murmured, "Perhaps if Wan Air appeared and I knew it was fake, I don't know if I would continue to open my eyes. But if my father and mother appeared, even if I knew it was fake, I would still open my eyes one day." Who made the rule that when facing the memories of the past, when facing the illusory existence that is like a heart devil, I must close my eyes and ignore it. I must maintain a firm Tao heart and not be affected by the heart devil. Who made the rule that I must have a firm Tao heart in order to cross the third bridge? Who made the rule that this is the only way to cross the third bridge? Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Family, love, and friendship are the most precious things in my life. Why should I close my eyes and not open them? I want to open my eyes and see everything. I want to open my Tao heart and accept everything. Wang Lin took a deep breath and walked forward again. 9 steps later, he saw his parents again. Another 9 steps later, he saw Mu Bingmei, Li Qianmei, and Li Muan. After another 9 steps, he saw Wang Ping. He saw that pitiful child, holding his hand. He was very persistent, but very serious. He told himself that he was cultivating the Tao so that he could accompany his father for the rest of his life. He didn't want to see his father's lonely back in the world. If his father was going to be lonely, then he hoped that he would still be there for his father. Wang Lin saw Situnan, Shimizu, Du Tian, and old Rosefinch. He saw many people who had helped him before. He looked at their faces and walked forward. Big Head, Red Butterfly, Qing Shuang, Zhou Yi Qinglin, and many others. Wang Lin seemed to recall his own life from the appearance of these people. Along the way, Wang Lin didn't control his emotions. He cried, he laughed, he felt pain, he felt sadness. Step by step, he didn't know how long he had walked. He didn't know when he arrived at the third bridge, but everything before him disappeared. He stood at the end of the third bridge and let out a sigh. He turned around and looked behind him. After a long time, he turned around and walked off the third bridge. In the distance was the location of the fourth bridge. Even further away, the illusion behind the 9th bridge became a bit clearer, but Wang Lin still couldn't see through it. He could only vaguely see that there were 2 people inside the illusion. He recalled the memories he had cried, laughed, and felt sadness. Wang Lin walked forward, and a few days later, he arrived at the 4th heaven trampling bridge. This bridge was even larger than before. It looked like a behemoth that existed in this strange space. A faint pressure came from it and shrouded the area. Wang Lin looked at the bridge, and after pondering for a bit, he raised his foot. However, just as his foot landed, his right foot pierced through the bridge and he missed. At the same time, the 4th heaven trampling bridge trembled before Wang Lin. It turned into specks of light and flew toward Wang Lin. It formed a vortex around Wang Lin, forming a powerful suction force that devoured Wang Lin and made him disappear. The moment Wang Lin was devoured, in the secret chamber of Ji Cheng's palace in the Luoho country of the immortal astral continent, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with confusion and lingered for a long time. His slaughter essence true body had completely fused with his body, and there were no more overlapping shadows. Behind him floated the ethereal essence true body, and before him was the soul of the celestial emperor wrapped in his soul fire. The secret chamber was completely silent. Only the sound of Wang Lin's slightly rough breathing could be heard. Heaven trampling path, void destruction Tao, immortal soul, worship of all. Heaven trampling 9 bridges, I've only walked 3 bridges and stopped at the 4th bridge. Wang Lin took a deep breath and looked up. The confusion in his eyes gradually dissipated and was replaced with determination. Monthly votes, I'm seriously asking for monthly votes. Chapter 2050. The moment Wang Lin opened his eyes, the figure shrouded in fog at the top of the tower on Mount Jidao let out a sigh. There is still. For 100 years, the celestial clan slowly calmed down after the 72 spirits came out and begged the heavens. However, the only person who knew of this matter, Grand Emperor Jiuti, felt uneasy. Even while cultivating, he would occasionally look up at the sky with awe and desire in his eyes. What he longed for his entire life was that legendary realm, but he had never taken that step. The reason Grand Emperor Jidao is the strongest person on the immortal astral continent is because he took that step. I wonder when I can have that day. Jiuti silently pondered. He had a complicated expression and let out a long sigh. At this moment, Hai Zi was standing at the peak of Mount Emperor. The wind blew by and caused her clothes to flutter. She looked hesitant and confused. She had felt a sense of familiarity when she was divining, but she didn't tell Jiuti. Even she suspected that her sense of familiarity was just an illusion. In the ancient clan, outside the imperial city of the Shiji clan, on Origin Mountain, Grand Emperor Song Tian's face was pale as he looked into the distance with a complicated expression. No one knew what he was thinking. Teacher. Chi Man's hesitant voice came from behind him. Shut up for me. Song Tian didn't turn around and interrupted Chi Man. At this moment, he didn't want to listen to anything. He wanted to think about whether the upheaval in the 36 countries had anything to do with Wang Lin's closed-door cultivation. Although he didn't think there was a connection, he still had that small hope. If there was a connection, then he would need to change some of his decisions and thoughts. Forget it, this lord will go meet him. A moment later, Mo Tian's eyes lit up. He raised his right hand and pointed at the void. A thunderous rumble came from the sky and origin energy from all directions gathered. As the clouds changed colors, a giant crack was torn open in the sky. An enormous head popped out from the crack. This head was completely green and had 2 horns on its head. It was a radiance demon. A large amount of black smoke surrounded the ancient devil's body. It let out a roar and stretched out 2 huge claws from the depths of the crack. With a loud bang, it tore open more than half of the crack and crawled out. He was 30,000 meters tall, and as soon as he appeared, he threw his head back and roared, then dropped to one knee in front of Song Tian. Looking at the gigantic devil Ji in front of him, Song Tian's eyes flashed and he slapped his forehead with his left hand. Suddenly, a strand of black hair flew out from between his eyebrows. It shot toward the ancient devil's forehead and disappeared. Song Tian sat down in the lotus position and closed his eyes. However, Ji Mo's eyes shined brightly. He suddenly raised his head and revealed a grim expression. In a flash, he returned to the crack, closed it, and disappeared. The moment the ancient devil disappeared, Wang Kai let out a deep breath and his eyes were filled with determination. He felt his cultivation level, and after a moment, he frowned slightly. He couldn't tell what his cultivation level was now. He had broken through to peak void turbulent, but he wasn't a Grand Empyrean. He even felt like the so-called Grand Empyrean level was half a step away from his current cultivation level. This half step seemed very short, but it was a gully that was difficult to cross. Half a step into the heaven-trampling realm. Wang Lin rubbed the spot between his eyebrows and looked at the Celestial Emperor's soul that had been burned by his soul fire for 100 years. With his previous cultivation level, it was difficult for him to completely refine the Celestial Emperor's soul. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand reached toward the Celestial Emperor's soul. The soul immediately flew into his hand. The moment he grabbed the soul fire that belonged to Wang Lin disappeared, leaving only the Celestial Emperor's soul with its eyes closed. Looking at this soul, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange expression. He had a feeling that he didn't need to spend too much effort to easily dispel the curse inside the Celestial Emperor's soul. This naturally had to do with the fact that there wasn't much of the curse left, that it had been scattered by Jiu Ti and company, and that it had been burned by Wang Lin for 100 years. Even so, with Wang Lin's previous cultivation level, he would have needed to burn his soul for another 100 years before he could dispel it. With a strange gaze, Wang Lin's left index finger pointed at the Celestial Emperor's soul. His finger penetrated the soul and touched the gray gas inside. Wang Lin softly said, "Scatter." The moment he said this, the secret room began to distort. Countless lines seemed to appear and suddenly gathered on Wang Lin's left index finger. Then his index finger entered the gray gas inside the Celestial Emperor's soul. The mass of gray qi suddenly trembled, and at a speed visible to the naked eye, gradually dissipated, no longer existing. Wang Lin's eyes shone brightly when he saw that he had so easily dispelled a small portion of the Celestial Emperor's curse. Just at this moment, the Celestial Emperor's soul trembled as if it were about to open its eyes. Wang Lin didn't do anything. Instead, he looked at the Celestial Emperor Lian Daozhen's soul. When the Celestial Emperor's soul opened its eyes and saw Wang Lin, its expression turned into one of hatred and viciousness. Wang Lin! A strand of soul intent filled Wang Lin's mind, but to Wang Lin, this strand of soul intent was insignificant. When the Celestial Emperor Lian Daozhen saw that Wang Lin wasn't affected at all, he gaped in shock. However, even as he gaped, Wang Lin suddenly squeezed his right hand. A powerful force slammed into the Celestial Emperor's soul, and with a bang, the Celestial Emperor Lian Daozhen died. His soul turned into a cloud of mist that was about to dissipate. However, Wang Lin's eyes shone brightly, and he made a grasping motion with his left hand. Suddenly, a huge head appeared outside the secret room. It was the head of the Celestial Ancestor. As it appeared, a golden light spread out in all directions, causing the area to be filled with dense celestial qi. "With the soul as the guide, fuse," whispered Wang Lin. He waved his sleeve, and the mist formed by the Celestial Emperor Lian Daozhen's soul split into 7 strands that shot through the secret room toward the Celestial Ancestor's head. The 7 strands of mist flew toward the head's orifices. Wang Lin suddenly stood up and walked out of the secret room for the first time in 100 years. He appeared before the Celestial Ancestor's head and waved his hand at the sky. A giant sun immediately appeared behind the Celestial Ancestor's head. This sun was black and white, and it was only an outline. It wasn't corporeal like a real Grand Empyrean sun. I couldn't do this with my previous cultivation level, but now I should be able to do it. With Lian Daozhen's soul as the guide, I can fuse the Celestial Ancestor's head into my Grand Empyrean sun. Then my Grand Empyrean sun will be completely condensed. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his hands formed a seal. Strands of green light landed on the Celestial Ancestor's head. As the 7 strands of Lian Daozhen's soul entered the Celestial Ancestor's orifices, the head began to tremble. At this moment, the sky was hazy, and bursts of pressure descended from the sky. Even though they were far away, they could clearly feel it. As Wang Lin continued to form seals, the celestial ancestor's head trembled even more violently. Fine cracks appeared on the head, but it didn't shatter or show any signs of melting. Wang Lin didn't make a sound. His hands formed a seal, and he spat out a mouthful of green flames. The flames surrounded the celestial ancestor's head, and the head finally showed signs of melting. The moment it melted, Wang Lin's black and white Grand Empyrean sun shrouded the head. It released a powerful burst of light and rapidly absorbed it. However, the speed at which the head melted was a bit slow, and as time passed, it seemed to have stopped. He is indeed worthy of being the celestial ancestor that walked through the 8th heaven trampling bridge. Even though he has been dead for so many years, just a head is so difficult to melt. Wang Lin murmured. He had wondered who had killed the celestial ancestor, but he had no clue. However, in the end, this is only a head. Wang Lin raised his right hand and reached at the void. The hazy sky suddenly changed and countless fine lines appeared. Others couldn't see these fine lines, and only those at the Grand Empyrean level could vaguely feel them. However, if one wanted to control them, even Grand Empyreans would only be able to touch the edge. Only after taking that step and reaching the 1st heaven trampling bridge could one be like Wang Lin and truly extract the law of the world. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, "No wonder Grand Empyrean Jidao can kill other Grand Empyreans. Rumor has it that several Grand Empyreans died at his hands tens of thousands of years ago. With the power to control the law of the world, killing a Grand Empyrean shouldn't be difficult. The celestial ancestor is someone that walked through the 8th heaven bridge. His head will fuse with my Grand Empyrean sun and become a powerful treasure." Just at this moment, a thunderous rumble came from the sky 100,000 feet away from Wang Lin. A giant rift was torn open by the void, and a large amount of black gas came out. A giant ancient devil head and body came out. However, the moment the ancient devil came out, his expression changed. Song Tian's divine sense was inside Ji Mo's body, so he could feel something strange. His expression changed greatly when he saw Wang Lin completely ignoring him. Wang Lin's right hand reached out and grabbed countless fine lines. He pulled them toward the celestial ancestor's head. Wang Lin bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood landed on the head along with the fine lines. At this instant, the celestial ancestor's head began to melt and was absorbed by Wang Lin's Grand Empyrean sun. Gradually, the black and white Grand Empyrean sun began to condense, and a third color appeared: gold. Controlling the law of the world. The ancient devil that had suddenly appeared let out a scream of disbelief. Chapter 2051. Grand Empyreans could feel the changes at the edge of the law of the world. With their powerful beliefs, they could use these changes to condense them into reality. This was what it meant to create something out of nothing. However, it was only creating something out of nothing and turning the illusory into reality. They couldn't be like Wang Lin, who could grab the law of the world and use it by force. This wasn't borrowing it, but a higher level of controlling the law of the world. Song Tian couldn't do this. In his memory, only Grand Empyrean Gu Dao had seen something similar when he went to visit Grand Empyrean Gu Dao. This is impossible. The ancient devil that Song Tian's divine sense had fused with was filled with disbelief. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Wang Lin, who he thought was nothing to worry about, had obtained such shocking control over the law of the world after going into closed-door cultivation. His ancient devil body was completely startled when he walked out from the rift in the sky. His mind was completely blank and there were no thoughts. The only thing that remained was Wang Lin's action of reaching toward the sky and the law of the world rushing toward him. The appearance of GMO didn't attract Wang Lin's attention at all. He didn't even look at GMO as he looked at the rapidly melting head of the celestial ancestor. A majority of the head had melted due to the blood he had spat out and the law of the world. The part that had melted was completely absorbed by his Grand Empyrean sun, causing the golden light inside to become even brighter. The three-colored Grand Empyrean sun gave off a strange glow in the sky. The celestial ancestor's head shrank at a visible rate and bursts of golden light penetrated it. A moment later, only a small portion remained. It no longer looked like a head, but a mass of dazzling golden light. As it became smaller and smaller, Wang Lin's three-colored Grand Empyrean sun became even more intense and condensed as if it was real. When the celestial ancestor's head completely melted and the three-colored Grand Empyrean sun completely absorbed it, it would become a true Grand Empyrean sun. Wang Lin would become a true Grand Empyrean. Moreover, he would be the second strongest Grand Empyrean on the immortal astral continent after Gu Dao. Off in the distance, the ancient devil, who had Song Tian's divine will, took a deep breath and regained his composure. He didn't want to believe what he was seeing, but the reality in front of him forced him to. His heart trembled, and without the slightest hesitation, he began to slowly retreat. Seeing that Wang Lin wasn't paying any attention to him, he retreated as fast as he could, heading straight for the rift in the sky that he had arrogantly torn open earlier. As a Grand Empyrean, it was rare for him to act like this. He hadn't even fought them one by one, yet he was already feeling fear. Compared to when he had arrogantly arrived, the contrast was too great. However, just as the ancient devil's body approached the crack and was about to escape, a cold voice suddenly reverberated through the world. "He's leaving just like that?" The moment this voice appeared, it caused the ancient devil that contained Song Tian's divine sense to pause for a moment. Then it charged forward at full speed as if it had gone crazy. However, just as the voice echoed, Wang Lin coldly looked over and his gaze landed on the ancient devil. Threads suddenly appeared around the ancient devil and wrapped around the ancient devil. His body trembled and became motionless. Wang Lin had speculated a long time ago that this spell was related to the law of the world. At this moment, with his current cultivation level and comprehension, he didn't even need to form a seal. He could make this spell appear with just a gaze. Not only was GMO frozen by Wang Lin's gaze, but Song Tian's divine sense also trembled and couldn't move at all. At the same time, far away on Origin Mountain, Song Tian suddenly opened his eyes. His face was pale and there was a trace of horror in his eyes. His divine sense was frozen and his origin soul was affected. "Open the origin formation!" Song Tian didn't hesitate at all. The moment he opened his eyes, he let out a roar. All the powerful cultivators of the ancient Sure, who followed Song Tian, quickly flew toward the formation and began setting it up. Teacher Chi-Man, who was behind Song Tian, didn't know. While Song Tian was preparing with all his might, in the Luoho country, Wang Lin let out a shocking roar. As he let out a long roar, the color of the world changed. The celestial ancestor's head, which had partially melted and turned into a blinding ball of golden light, finally began to melt. It became smaller and smaller. A moment later, the celestial ancestor's head was only the size of a fist. The Grand Empyrean sun behind it was even more solid than the suns of the other Grand Empyreans. Staring at the fist-sized ball of golden light, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. He raised his right hand and reached at the void below. Wang Lin's life and death, karma, and true and false ethereal essences flew out of the secret chamber toward Wang Lin and fused with his body. At this moment, all his essences returned and thunderous rumbles came from Wang Lin's body. His hair moved without any wind and he gave off a shocking aura. Under this aura, Wang Lin gave off a sense of might without being angry. He spat out a mouthful of essence aura at the fist-sized celestial ancestor's head. This aura was invisible, and only Wang Lin could feel it. The moment it touched the fist-sized celestial ancestor's head, the head trembled violently and melted. It completely melted and disappeared. Wang Lin's three-colored Grand Empyrean sun completely absorbed it and became a real existence, forming a grand Empyrean sun and sending it into the immortal astral continent so that there would be 10 suns in the sky. This was the true sign of someone becoming a grand Empyrean. Before, it could only be said that Wang Lin wasn't a complete grand Empyrean. The moment his grand Empyrean sun completely condensed, Wang Lin raised his hand and looked at the sky. The three-colored grand Empyrean sun seemed to be lifted up and slowly flew toward the sky. Seeing his grand Empyrean sun fly toward the highest point in the sky, Wang Lin couldn't help but think back to when he first entered the immortal astral continent with a sliver of his divine sense and saw the 9 suns in the sky. Grand Empyrean, Wang Lin muttered as he looked at his grand Empyrean sun. The moment the three-colored light erupted in the sky, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. After Wang Lin sent his grand Empyrean sun into the sky, the grand Empyrean suns of all the grand Empyreans on the immortal astral continent were affected. In the Celestial Clan, the Tao Yi sect, the Northern Continent, the Purple Yang sect, and the Ancestral City, Mount Emperor, all 4 of these places had suns rise into the sky. They shined brightly in the sky of the immortal astral continent. In the imperial palace of the Ancestral City, a golden sun suddenly appeared and became the 5th sun of the Celestial Clan. At the same time, in the Ancient Clan, in the sky where Xian Luo was in closed-door cultivation, his grand Empyrean sun appeared. In the imperial city of the Ancient Ji, the mysterious Ancient Ji Grand Empyrean also appeared in the sky with his sun. There was also Song Tian's Grand Empyrean sun from the Shi Ji bloodline. At this moment, he lost control of himself and charged into the sky. In the end, the sun that belonged to Grand Empyrean Gu Dao appeared on Mount Gu Dao. At this moment, 10 suns appeared on the immortal astral continent. The remaining 9 Grand Empyrean suns didn't appear out of control, but after Wang Lin's Grand Empyrean sun flew into the sky, they appeared on their own as if they were pulling each other. This was not a situation the Grand Empyreans were unfamiliar with. Aside from the celestial ancestors' celestial emperor's inheritance, this phenomenon would appear when someone became a Grand Empyrean. At this moment, because all the Grand Empyrean suns appeared in the sky, the power of the world surged across the immortal astral continent. This allowed the other Grand Empyreans to clearly feel the aura of the new Grand Empyreans. There was a clear difference in size among the 10 suns in the sky. The largest belonged to Grand Empyrean Gu Dao. His Grand Empyrean sun was almost as big as the other 8 suns combined, aside from Wang Lin's 3-colored Grand Empyrean Sunday. Second was Wang Lin's 3-colored sun. Although it wasn't as big as Ji Dao's, it was almost half the size of Wang Lin's. It gave off a light no weaker than Gu Dao's sun. Godfather, Grand Empyrean. In the palace in the Luo Ho country, Prince Ji Du was startled. His eyes were filled with excitement and he began to laugh. Chapter 2052. Wang Lin. It's actually Wang Lin. A shocking roar came from the Tao Yi sect. This roar was filled with anger and spread in all directions. Aside from anger, there was also fear and dread in this roar. Tao Yi could not forget what had happened in the ancestral city's underground palace. Back then, Wang Lin was already extremely powerful. Now that Wang Lin had become a Grand Empyrean, he didn't dare to imagine how strong Wang Lin was right now. In particular, the giant sun that was second only to Gu Dao revealed Wang Lin's strength. He hasn't even gone to the Tai Ji God realm. He has become a true Grand Empyrean by himself. In the land of ice in the extreme north, Wu Feng was in a trance as he looked at the sky for a very, very long time. In the Purple Yang sect, the 2 little girls were filled with joy. They held hands and looked at the sky. He has become a Grand Empyrean on Mount Emperor in the Ancestral City. Grand Empyrean Jiu Ti looked in the direction of the ancient clan in the distance. His face was pale and there was a hint of uncertainty. When the land was rich, he already had the outline of the sun and obtained the celestial ancestor's head. This sun has 3 colors: black, white, and gold. The gold is obviously from fusing with the celestial ancestor's head. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be too surprising for him to become a Grand Empyrean, but in a mere 100 years, he actually melted the celestial ancestor's head. And the time he became a Grand Empyrean's son. Jiu Ti's heart trembled. He was the only Grand Empyrean in the Celestial clan who knew the truth about the 72 Soul Wars. Thinking about that gaze, he couldn't help but connect it to Wang Lin becoming a Grand Empyrean. That should be impossible. Dread, he muttered to himself. Hai Zi, sitting in a corner of Mount Emperor, has a complicated expression, but there is a hint of enlightenment. Jiu Ti's eyes were filled with fear as she looked up at the sky. Inside the underground palace beneath the imperial palace, Lien Daofei, who had turned into a mountain, remained motionless. The ancient clan was also in chaos due to Wang Linwei becoming a Grand Empyrean. At the center of this chaos was the origin mountain of the ancient Shi. Song Tian had a bitter expression. Although he had been prepared after his divine sense entered the ancient devil, he was still shocked at this moment. In the imperial city of the Tao, Xian Luo, who was in closed-door cultivation, felt the aura that belonged to Wang Lin. He smiled and laughed happily. In the Luo Ho country, in the sky above the palace, Wang Lin lowered his hand and waved it. The 3-colored sun that belonged to him gradually dissipated, leaving only the afterimage in the sky. It was the symbol of a Grand Empyrean on the immortal astral continent. The world returned to normal, and the surrounding power of law slowly dissipated. Everything returned to normal. Several rays of light flew out from the palace, and the one at the front was Prince Ji Du. He suppressed the excitement in his heart. When he was 1,000 feet from Wang Lin, he knelt down on one knee and shouted, "Godfather, congratulations on becoming a Grand Empyrean." "Greetings, Lord Wang." Behind Ji Du, the young woman and her husband, the violet-robed young man, had respectful expressions on their faces. They couldn't hide the shock in their eyes as they knelt toward Wang Lin. After all, Ji Du was already like this, so the two of them couldn't just stand and bow. "We greet the king." After the 3 of them spoke, all of Ji Du's guards excitedly knelt on one knee and saluted Wang Lin. The voices of these people gathered together and turned into sound waves that reverberated in the surroundings. Wang Lin floated in the air and looked at everyone below. He looked at Ji Du and the young couple and smiled. After nodding, Wang Lin's gaze was calm as he looked at the frozen ancient devil in the distance and stepped forward. Standing before the ancient devil, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed to the spot between the ancient devil's eyebrows. The ancient devil's body trembled and revealed a painful expression. A strand of black gas came out from between his eyebrows and disappeared with the wind. The pain on Ji Du's face disappeared and he regained his sanity. He looked at Wang Lin with fear in his eyes and let out a whimper. He recovered his mobility and knelt before Wang Lin with his head lowered. "Ji Du, I'll take you to see Song Tian." Wang Lin stepped on the ancient devil's head and looked back at Ji Du. Ji Du's body trembled, and he suddenly looked up. He couldn't suppress the excitement in his eyes as he looked at Wang Lin with gratitude. "Thank you, foster father." Ji Du took a deep breath and arrived on top of the ancient devil's head. He respectfully stood behind Wang Lin and looked at Wang Lin's back. Wang Lin's back was not tall, but it gave him the feeling of a mountain. It was as if with this back, he could be as powerful as the Shiji Emperor. The huge ancient devil didn't need Wang Lin's order. It let out a roar and turned around with Wang Lin, and Ji Du. It tore the rift in the sky a bit wider and disappeared. As it disappeared, the crack in the sky gradually closed, turning into a white line and fading away. Outside the imperial city of the ancient Shi, on Origin Mountain, Wang Lin's finger had erased Song Tian's divine sense from between the ancient devil's eyebrows. Song Tian trembled and his face turned pale, but he soon recovered. His expression was gloomy and he held the giant axe in his hand. He looked up at the sky and his breathing gradually became even. He knew that his previous actions would cause Wang Lin to come. Even if I didn't test him before, Wang Lin would still come in order to make Ji Du the emperor. Song Tian let out a sigh. He wasn't confident in winning this battle, but as a Grand Empyrean, he couldn't choose to surrender without fighting. Thunderous rumbles echoed on Origin Mountain. The entire mountain was shrouded in a hazy aura. It was as if there were thousands of troops inside the hazy aura that gave off a sense of killing intent. With the help of the Origin formation and the axe given to me by Grand Empyrean Gu Dao, even if this person can control the power of the world, I should still be qualified to fight him. Song Tian took a deep breath and calmly looked at the sky, waiting for Wang Lin to arrive. Behind him, Qi Man's face was filled with bitterness and he remained silent. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, the time it takes an incense stick to burn went by. Suddenly, a huge crack appeared in the sky above Origin Mountain. Black smoke spewed out of it, and the gigantic ancient devil roared as it shot out of it. There were two people standing on its head. They were Wang Lin and Ji Du. Song Tian's gaze suddenly looked at Wang Lin. At the same time, Qi Man's gaze locked with Ji Du's. Song Tian waved his sleeves and coldly said, "Wang Lin." Wang Lin smiled and clasped his hands. "Wang greets Lord Song. Don't talk nonsense. I know why you came here. Let's fight. If you win, I will make Ji Du the next emperor 100 years from now." Song Tian let out a sigh in his heart. He didn't even say what the result would be if he won. After he finished speaking, he waved his left hand and the army on Origin Mountain let out a sharp roar. They turned into a large amount of fog and charged at Wang Lin. At the same time, Song Tian grabbed the axe and chopped down on Wang Lin. Grand Empyrean Song Tian's cultivation level was a bit higher than Wu Feng's. If Wang Lin had fought such a powerhouse 100 years ago, the outcome would have been uncertain. Wang Lin would have needed to use all of his power aside from his avatar in the void to fight. But now, Wang Lin's expression was calm as he faced the army formed by the formation and the axe that seemed to be able to split the heavens. He raised his right hand and pointed down 3 times. With the first point, a thunderous rumble came from the charging army 1,000 feet from Wang Lin. As the rumble echoed, the illusory army burst like bubbles. They didn't slow down at all, as if they had smashed into an invisible barrier. This was what Ji Du and Qi Man saw, but this was what happened to Song Tian. As Wang Lin pointed down, the law of the world seemed to appear and the power of the law of the world filled the area before the army. As the army dissipated, Wang Lin pointed down a second time and the hazy formation around Origin Mountain shattered. The hazy formation seemed to be torn into countless pieces and dissipated. The entire Origin Mountain trembled, and the many powerhouses of the Shi clan that were maintaining the formation all coughed out blood and looked dispirited. Song Tian felt his scalp go numb, but he endured it. His eyes became cold as he floated in the air with the axe in his right hand and chopped down at Wang Lin. At this moment, Wang Lin's finger pointed down a third time. An illusory fist appeared out of nowhere and appeared in front of Song Tian. This fist was completely formed by countless thin threads and contained the law of the world. When the fist fell, it collided with Song Tian's axe. A thunderous rumble shook the heavens and earth. The axe trembled and shattered inch by inch. With a bang, it turned into countless pieces and fell on the ground in the distance. As for the fist formed by law, it also trembled and gradually collapsed, splitting into 2 parts. Song Tian coughed out a mouthful of blood and was forced back 1,000 feet. He landed on Origin Mountain, causing the entire mountain to tremble and cracks to appear on it. The tip of Wang Lin's right hand paused. A white mark appeared on his fingertip, but it did not break his skin. A battle axe that contains law. Wang Lin looked at the fragments of the battle axe in the distance. He raised his right hand and made a grabbing motion. The fragments immediately flew over and gathered in front of Wang Lin. In an instant, a complete battle axe appeared once again. Do you still want to fight? Wang Lin's gaze calmly fell on Song Tian. Why not? Song Tian laughed out loud. His body flashed as he shot up into the sky. In an instant, he stood between the sky and the earth. He raised his right hand and grabbed at the origin mountain below him. The entire origin mountain trembled violently and began to rise. It was as if Song Tian's hand had lifted it from the ground. Countless rays of light flew out from the mountain. It was everyone, including Qi Man, who was watching all of this in fear. A large amount of rays of light flew out from the imperial palace of Shiji Imperial City and headed toward this place. Chapter 2053. Wang Lin watched as Grand Emperor Song Tian lifted the origin mountain, causing the earth to tremble and black light to spread out from the mountain. His expression was calm as he coldly looked over. The mountain rose higher and higher until it completely floated above Song Tian. Song Tian stared at Wang Lin and raised his right hand as if he was holding the mountain. Wang Lin, if you can withstand the power of my origin mountain, then I admit defeat. Song Tian let out a roar and waved his right hand. The giant origin mountain shot toward Wang Lin. This mountain is called Origin Mountain, the first mountain to be born in the ancient Shur. It has been countless years, and its size hasn't changed at all. After I became a Grand Empyrean on this mountain, I refined it like all the other Grand Empyreans of the Shiji clan. Now in my hands, this mountain can use its suppression power once. Wang Lin, take this. The world rumbled and the origin mountain descended from above Wang Lin. This mountain was extremely strange, and as it descended, Wang Lin clearly saw all the rules of this world. When the thin lines descended from the mountain, they were pushed away by a strange force. It was as if there was a great repulsion between the mountain and the law of the world. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly as he stood there. His clothes and white hair fluttered as he looked at the incoming mountain. His right hand suddenly clenched, and he threw a punch at the mountain. A punch descended from the air and crashed into the mountain with a distance of 1,000 feet between them. As booming sounds echoed in the air, the mountain shuddered, and its speed of descent decreased by a large margin, but it still continued to descend. The shadow of Wang Lin's punch that collided with the mountain trembled and shattered. At the same time, a powerful pressure descended on Wang Lin and the space around Wang Lin was divided. It was as if the world he was in had been completely separated from his surroundings. Interesting. Wang Lin smiled. The primal mountain suppression mystique was surprisingly similar to the ancient ancestor's finger. However, the ancient ancestor's finger allowed the sky and earth to collapse to kill the enemy. But the primal mountain suppression used the sky and earth to prevent people from escaping, so they could only be suppressed. They are indeed worthy of being Grand Empyreans. On the immortal astral continent, none of the 9 Grand Empyreans were weak. Each Grand Empyrean had their own spells. For example, Song Tian's origin mountain can repel rules and reach the level of Ji Zhu's finger that can split space. Although it's not a faith art, it's enough to be proud of. Wang A looked at the approaching mountain and muttered to himself. His eyes lit up. With his current cultivation level, aside from Gu Dao, there was no other Grand Empyreans that could make him feel dread. Wang Lin didn't care about the other Grand Empyreans. Although Origin Mountain was extraordinary, it was only extraordinary. Wang Lin's expression was calm. He raised his right hand and pointed at the incoming Origin Mountain. This was the ancient ancestor's finger spell. With one finger, the world changed colors and the clouds scattered. The space separated by Origin Mountain rumbled and visible cracks appeared around Wang Lin. The cracks became larger and larger until it was about to collapse. It couldn't withstand it anymore. As for Origin Mountain, it trembled under Wang Lin's finger and stopped hundreds of feet away from Wang Lin. It continued to tremble but was unable to continue sinking. Just at this moment, the space around Wang Lin collapsed. Wang Lin stepped out and looked at Song Tian, who was not far away. Do you still want to fight? Bitterness appeared on Song Tian's face, but he clenched his teeth and jumped onto Origin Mountain. He bit the tip of his tongue and coughed out a mouthful of blood. The blood turned into mist and was quickly absorbed by the mountain. Song Tian sat down cross-legged, formed a seal with his hands, and let out a roar. Origin suppression. A loud rumble came from Origin Mountain, and it broke free from the tremors. It descended once more and charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin shook his head and moved. He didn't wait for Origin Mountain to sink and appeared under it. He raised his right hand and pressed down on the mountain. The moment his palm landed, the mountain trembled. Song Tian coughed out blood once more and was knocked back. He only stopped after retreating a few steps. At this moment, the rays of light coming from Shiji Imperial City closed in and turned into dozens of people. The person at the front was an old man in a royal robe. He looked at Wang Lin and his expression changed. Wang Lin didn't look at the people coming. After Song Tian was knocked back from Origin Mountain, he waved his sleeves. Origin Mountain immediately rotated and slowly shrank until it was the size of a palm and landed on Wang Lin's right hand. After the mountain shrank, it looked like a bull's head. The broken horns had also returned to normal. Song Tian saw this and his body staggered. He retreated once more and his face turned pale. This mountain was the same size as before. No Grand Empyrean of the ancient Shur had been able to shrink a mountain to this extent. However, this Wang Lin didn't even need to refine it to make it shrink. From the looks of it, he could control it freely. Song Tian felt bitter in his heart and let out a sigh. He gave up all resistance and clasped his hands at Wang Lin. I admit defeat. As Song Tian spoke, he turned around to look at the incoming crowd. All of them had shaken expressions on their faces. Clearly, they were shocked by what had just happened. I'm the guardian of the ancient Shur and a Grand Empyrean. Today, I recognize Prince Ji-du as the emperor of my ancient Shur in 100 years. Song Tian slowly said, and his gaze finally fell on the old man in the royal robe. This old man was the current ancient Shur emperor. He hesitated and wanted to say something, but after looking at Wang Kai, he silently pondered. He clasped his hands at Song Tian and nodded. Prince Ji-du's face was filled with excitement and felt like this was unreal. What he had yearned for had been obtained so easily. This caused him to be in a trance, but he wasn't an arrogant person. After taking a deep breath, he stepped forward and instantly arrived before Wang Lin. He hesitated a bit and didn't thank Song Tian or his father first. Instead, he turned around and knelt down before Wang Lin before his father, Song Tian, the powerful cultivators of the Shiji Imperial City, and even the princes. Thank you, Godfather, for granting my wish. As soon as he knelt and said those words, the expressions of everyone in the area, with the exception of Doomsday, changed. Their gazes were filled with disbelief and disbelief. In the ancient Shur where imperial power was supreme, a prince, especially one who had confirmed his identity and was about to become the emperor of the ancient Shur, had actually knelt down and recognized someone as his godfather. This matter had exceeded the imagination of the surrounding people. In an instant it caused an uproar. Ji-du, what are you doing? The first to speak was a middle-aged man standing next to the ancient Shur emperor. This person is the crown prince. In the distance, Chi-man's heart was filled with reluctance, but he couldn't change anything. However, at this moment, his eyes suddenly lit up. Ji-du, as a prince, how can you casually recognize someone as your father? Especially when you, the future emperor, actually kneel to one of the ancient Tao's 6 Empyreans. The Shiji emperor remained silent as he watched his son kneel before Wang Lin. There was a flash of gloominess in his eyes. The uproar caused Ji-du's face to turn pale, but his eyes were filled with determination as he looked at Wang Lin. He knew what he was doing. He was going to use this to tell his godfather that even if he became the emperor, Wang Lin was still his godfather. Wang Lin also looked at Ji Du. He didn't expect Ji Du to have the courage to do such a thing before his father and so many of his family members. Ji Du could have secretly fulfilled his godfather's words and the promise from back then. This way, his process of becoming the emperor would be much smoother and not like now, where there would be some twists and turns. The uproar became louder and louder, but Song Tian remained silent. The ancient Sure Emperor also didn't speak, but his eyes became even more gloomy. Wang Lin slowly said, "Ji Du, I'll accept you as my godson." Ji Du took a deep breath. Before this, Wang Lin hadn't acknowledged Devour. He had only called Wang Lin his godfather. Now that he heard Wang Lin's words, Ji Du bowed once more. 100 years from now, you will be the Sure Ji Emperor. Wang Lin didn't look at everyone but looked toward the ancient Sure Imperial City. He could vaguely see a towering statue in the ancient Sure Imperial City. This statue was of the ancient ancestor. That was where the ancestral temple was. The crown prince and Qi Man's faces were pale. They seemed to want to speak, but the ancient Sure Emperor and the old man in the royal robe seemed to understand. They let out a sigh and spoke for the first time. "It is my son's fortune and the glory of my ancient Sure to have King Wang as my godfather. I'm not the Sure Ji Emperor who can't distinguish right from wrong. I didn't force King Wang away and cause trouble for myself. I asked King Wang to stay in my ancient Sure. If you have any requests, I will definitely satisfy them." The old man in the royal robe clasped his hands and bowed at Wang Lin. At this moment, Song Tian smiled and said to Wang Lin, "Brother Wang, if you don't have anywhere else to go, how about you stay here and witness Ji Du becoming the emperor 100 years from now?" Ji Du got up and respectfully said to the Sure Ji Emperor, "Father, Godfather wants to go to the ancestral temple. I have agreed, but I need to ask Father's opinion." "The ancestral temple? If King Wang wants to go, then I will naturally agree." The old man in the royal robe didn't hesitate and smiled. He didn't dare to disagree, and he didn't dare to have any opinion about Ji Du taking this person as his godfather. This Lord Wang had killed the ancient Dao Emperor and broke into the blessed Dao Palace. Even Grand Emperor Gu Dao hadn't said a word about this. He was even more certain that not even Song Tian was a match for Wang Lin, so how could he dare to offend him? The imperial power was supreme, but it had no effect on such a person. He had been writing very slowly recently. When he woke up in the morning, he would look at the outline of the last part of the document in a daze. Chapter 2054. There were only 3 ancestral temples in the entire ancient clan. They were located in the imperial cities of the 3 clans, below the statues of the ancient ancestor. Every adult ancient clan member would go to the ancestral temple when they went through the 3rd trial. However, they wouldn't go too deep into the ancestral temple. Only the members of the royal family could go to the depths of the ancestral temple to go through the tribulation. Since ancient times, very few people were qualified to go into closed-door cultivation inside the ancestral temple. Even Grand Empyreans found it difficult to do so, because the right to open the ancestral temple was in the hands of the previous emperors. Wang Lin stood at the center of the ancient Sure Imperial City, below the giant statue of the ancient ancestor. Wang Lin silently looked at the statue that seemed to support the sky. This statue was exactly the same as the one in the ancient Dao Imperial City. The Ji ancestor had his hands behind his back and looked at the world with contempt and disdain. Before Wang Lin crossed the 3 heaven-trampling bridges, he didn't feel much about this statue. However, at this moment the statue was different in his eyes. The contempt and disdain were only on the surface. Deep in his eyes, Wang Lin saw a hidden sadness. That sadness seemed to be for himself and for all living beings. Wang Lin softly asked, "Who carved this statue of the ancient ancestor?" Song Tian stood beside Wang Lin. He also looked at the statue and slowly said, "Grand Emperor Gu Dao, after the ancient ancestor disappeared, Grand Emperor Gu Dao found 3 mountains from somewhere and personally carved this statue. He then placed it in the imperial cities of the 3 clans. It is because of this that we descendants of the ancient clan can remember the appearance of the ancient ancestor and not forget it over time. Wang Lin nodded. He knew that a clan had to have a symbol. Without this core, the clan wouldn't be able to reproduce and would slowly die over time. It was obvious that the ancient ancestor statue and the legends were the symbols of the 3 clans of the ancient clan. As long as the statue existed, the Ji clan existed. Grand Emperor Gu Dao was the guardian of the entire ancient clan. Just this matter showed how wise he was. There were only Wang Lin and Song Yao below the statue. They seemed to be waiting for something. Not long after, murmuring sounds came from the direction of the royal palace. A dark light shot into the sky and circled around the statue of Ji Zhu, forming dark halos. Below the statue, between Ji Zhu's feet, there was a curved door on the huge boulder. This door was sealed, but as the dark ring of light surrounded it, rumbling sounds came from inside the door, and it slowly opened. "Brother Wang, the ancestral shrine has opened, so I won't be going in. Take care." Song Tian cupped his fists towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at the opening gate with a solemn expression. Whether or not he could give Li Muan the qualification to enter the immemorial god realm would depend on whether or not he could obtain another 2 drops of soul blood from the 3rd trial of the ancient race. After clasping his hands at Song Tian, Wang Lin took a deep breath and walked toward the ancestral shrine. His pace wasn't fast, but every step he took was very stable. Step by step, he arrived before the fully open door of the ancestral shrine. Without hesitation, he stepped inside. As soon as he entered the ancestral temple, the door slowly began to close. After enough time passed for half an incense stick to burn, a boom could be heard as the door was completely shut. The dark ring of light around the ancient ancestor statue gradually dissipated. It turned back into a ray of light and disappeared into the royal palace. Song Tian stood there for a long time before letting out a sigh and leaving. Most of the ancient Shi members saw the light around the ancient ancestor statue, but not many knew that Wang Lin had entered. This matter was also forbidden by Emperor Shi Ji, so no one asked about it anymore. The entire ancient Shi was no different from before, but those who paid attention would find that Prince Ji Du, who had always been outside, was now living in the royal palace. 10 years later, the crown prince was conferred the title of king and left to guard the border. Another 5 years later, Prince Qi Man, who was most likely to become the future emperor, was also conferred the title of king and left the ancient Shi imperial city. In the next 15 years, the princes were conferred the title of king and left one by one. In these 30 years, the only one left in the imperial city was Prince Ji Du. During these 30 years, Prince Ji Bu was very quiet and didn't have much contact with the outside world. His identity as the emperor had been decided, so he didn't need to act in the dark anymore. He just needed to do his best and nothing would go wrong. 30 years later, when all the princes besides him were conferred the title of king and left, the entire ancient Shi knew who the future emperor would belong to. Gradually, Ji Du began to come into contact with the hidden power and authority of the past emperors of the ancient Shi. In the remaining 70 years, he would slowly hand over power to his father. This was something that all 3 branches of the Ji clan had to do before the new emperor took over. During this period of time, it was the quietest time for the ancient Shi. Everything went on. Kadu-e maintained a very good habit. Almost every morning, the first thing he did was to look in the direction of the ancestral temple and silently look at it. He didn't know when he would see his godfather again, but this habit of his would never change. Many of Ji Du's clansmen noticed this habit of Ji Du's and were very confused. Even if they secretly asked around, they had no clue. Slowly, as time passed, this matter became a secret. In addition to this habit, during these 30 years, Ji Du didn't forget Wang Lin's order. He had sent a lot of powerful people to Blackstone City to silently guard a woman. That woman was named Song Ji. After more than 100 years, Song Ji was no longer the same as before. She had traces of time. She still didn't know that there were many hidden experts in Blackstone City, including the City Lord. Their life's mission was because of her. Time passed without a trace. In the blink of an eye, another 20 years passed. It had been 50 years since Wang Lin entered the ancestral temple. On this day, the entire ancient Shi held a grand ceremony. This grand ceremony wasn't for Ji Du as the new emperor, but for his wedding. He chose a descendant of Song Tian, a woman named Song Yu, as his wife. This woman was doted on by Song Tian. She was one of the few descendants that could personally listen to his teachings. This grand ceremony lasted for several months. During this time, a lot of people from the other two clans and the royal family came. From the ancient Dao, a middle-aged man came. If Wang Lin saw him, he would recognize that he looked very similar to Yi Mo. He was Yi Mo's descendant. After the ceremony ended and everyone left, Ji Du brought his wife to the ancestral temple on a night when the moon hung high in the sky and the earth was bathed in silver. The moonlight was gentle and shined on the statue of Ji Zu. The surroundings were very quiet. Ji Du held his wife's hand and walked toward the ancestral temple while the woman was puzzled. Ji Du stopped 100 feet away from the ancestral temple. He looked at the ancestral temple and was in a trance. After a long time, he silently knelt there. Although the woman was puzzled, she didn't ask. She knelt with him 100 feet away from the ancestral temple. Ji Du softly said, "Song Yu, we are not worshipping the ancient ancestor." The woman was startled. "We are worshipping my godfather." "Godfather?" The woman was very surprised. "Godfather, Ji Du married Lord Song's descendant. In the future, she will be the empress of the ancient Shi. Today, I brought her here to greet Godfather." Ji Du's expression was extremely respectful. This respect came from the bottom of his heart and was filled with sincerity. He would always remember that everything he had was given to him by Wang Lin. He would always remember that without Wang Lin, he would never be able to become an emperor. It was even to the extent that the woman by his side might not be his wife, but Qi Man, Godfather, there are still 50 years until Ji Du becomes the new emperor. I hope that on that day, I can see Godfather. Ji Du murmured and bowed toward the ancestral temple. The woman beside him seemed to remember something, and her eyes were filled with shock as she looked at the ancestral temple. She vaguely remembered that her Song family's ancestor, Lord Song, had once unintentionally mentioned something, a name. When this name was mentioned, Song Tian's expression was complicated and filled with emotion, but there was also a hint of admiration. The woman softly said, "King." King Ji Du didn't speak and just knelt there. After a long time, he silently left with his wife. However, just as he was a few hundred feet away, a leisurely voice came from the ancestral temple. "When you become the new emperor, your father will go." Ji Du's body trembled and he suddenly turned around. He looked at the ancestral temple and smiled. In the depths of the ancestral temple, Wang Lin was sitting there. His body gave off the smell of decay and was withered. He looked like a skeleton. However, his eyes were still bright. The ancient clan's 3 trials, 7 calamities. Back in the cave world, I passed the second trial's 4 calamities and the first of the 3 trials' 7 calamities. The first calamity of the ancient clan's 3 trials' 7 calamities is the ancient race heavenly blood. The second calamity is the ancient Dao 3 soul splits. The third calamity is the last calamity, the ancient ancestor's gift. Wang Lin murmured as he looked ahead. There was a stone tablet before him, and this stone tablet was engraved with all the information about the ancient clan's 3 trials' 7 calamities. After a long time, Wang Lin closed his eyes. The voice of the soul blood tiger echoed in his mind when he passed the first calamity of the third trial and obtained a drop of the soul blood tiger. If I want the sky to collapse, the sky will collapse. If I want the earth to shatter, the earth must shatter. If I want all living beings to die, no one will dare to not die. If I want there to be no celestials in the world, who will dare to exist? Following that, Shang Tong said, "Recently, I've been in a daze looking at the last part of the outline for a long time before I began to type words. I don't want to erupt, I really don't. It's not because I'm tired, but because I want to accompany everyone for a few more days before the celestial renegade ends. Every time I erupt, it means the end of the Li King is one day closer." Chapter 2055. I am G. I was born before the heavens and earth appeared. I lived before the universe was formed. But before me there were celestials. They wanted to enslave me, so I will destroy them. If I fail, then my descendants will be enemies with the celestials for generations to come. I vow that there will be no celestials in the world. Give me 9 drops of soul blood to my 3 sons. All of you will lead the people of the ancient clan. On the day the 9 songs and 3 signs appear, wait for my reincarnation, wait for my successor to appear. Wang Lin sat cross-legged in the ancestral temple. His body was withered and looked like a mummy. His white robes were loose, as if they were draped over his body. The same voice continued to echo in his mind for a full 50 years. At the beginning, the voice was only faintly discernible, like a murmur. But as time passed, the voice in Wang Lin's mind became even more intense, like a roar. Especially now, it was as if someone was constantly roaring in his ear. That roar was filled with a heaven-defying and unwillingness that caused Wang Lin's blood to boil and burn. As his blood burned, his flesh and blood seemed to be unable to withstand it. It was as if they were being refined, and they continued to wither. Now he was like a corpse. However, he didn't feel weak at all. Instead, he seemed to contain a shocking amount of life force and power. It was as if one day, when Wang Lin's body returned to normal, the power of his body would reach a shocking and terrifying level. The ancient clan's 3 trials, 7 calamities. The 3rd trial had 3 calamities. Aside from the ancient race heavenly blood, there was also the ancient Tao 3 soul splits. The splits allowed the ancient clan's power to explosively increase when they went through the calamity. Many of the members of the 3 ancient tribes, as long as they reached 27 stars and became saints, would experience the 3 trials and 7 tribulations in their lives. The last 2 tribulations of the 3rd trial could only be passed in the ancestral temples of the various tribes. However, as the individual was different, the increase in power and fortune each person obtained was different. During these 50 years of time, Wang Lin sat there motionlessly, allowing the voice to echo in his ears. Finally, after Prince Ji-du bowed and left, Wang Lin felt the signs of the 2nd calamity of the 3 trial calamity in his body. The roar in his ears became even more intense. The blood in his body boiled even more violently. A burning sensation slowly erupted from his body and filled his entire body. Ancient Tao 3 soul splits, Wang Lin muttered. From the stone tablet, he learned that the so-called ancient Tao 3 soul splits was not splitting his origin soul into 3 parts. Instead, he would have to split them 3 times before fusing them back together. Each time he did so, he would have to endure immense pain. It was like losing his cultivation base, and required incredible willpower to slowly fuse them back together. Then, he would have to split his mind a 2nd time. Every time he fused them together, his origin soul and body would advance by leaps and bounds, becoming even more powerful. Once all 3 splits were completed, he would successfully pass the 2nd calamity of the 3 trials. This calamity would not result in death, but the key was to endure the split. The longer it lasted, the more complete the split would be. At the same time, the benefits would be greater, but at the same time, the pain would be greater. This pain was not something a normal person could endure. In fact, even the imperial family would not be able to endure it for long. Most people would not wait until their origin soul was completely split. Instead, they would choose to fuse together halfway. As a result, the benefits they obtained would be different. In the ancient Tao 3 soul splits, I can choose to fuse them at any time. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Since ancient times, it was not that there were no people with great willpower. However, even though death would not occur in this calamity, if one's origin soul completely split apart, it would make it difficult to fuse them together, and at the same time, it would be impossible to fuse them together. As such, even if it was the imperial family, even if it was someone with great willpower, they would not make such a choice. Even if they made such a choice, they would usually gamble during the first split. It was extremely rare for them to gamble with their lives during the second split. Those who gambled on the third split were even rarer, and almost all of them died. Rumor had it that over the countless years, only the strongest person on the immortal astral continent, Grand Emperor Gu Dao, had chosen to completely split his origin soul during the third split. Compared to the second calamity of the 3 trials, the so-called third calamity could no longer be called a calamity. This was the ancient ancestors' gift. When the ancient clan members passed the 3 trials 6 trials, they would receive a mysterious reward. Perhaps it was a sliver of memory, perhaps it was an incomplete spell, or perhaps it was extremely pure ancient ancestor blood. There was even a sliver of possibility that it was soul blood. However, this sliver of possibility was only a rumor, and most of it was fabricated by later generations. Rumor had it that even Grand Emperor Gu Dao didn't obtain this sliver of possibility from the ancient ancestors' gift. However, rumor had it that what Grand Emperor Gu Dao obtained was extraordinary, but no one knew what it was. Wang Lin took a deep breath. His body began to tremble as his blood boiled. Bursts of pain appeared and fused with the roar in his mind to form a mysterious force that surrounded his body. He could clearly feel his origin soul gradually show signs of shattering. Finally, it has begun. Wang Lin suddenly raised his head. His eyes were calm. He had waited for this day for 50 years. Whether he could obtain the soul blood and allow Li Muan's body to enter the immemorial God realm would all depend on this calamity at the ancestral temple. The cracks on his origin soul became more and more obvious. At the same time, bursts of unimaginable pain descended. However, this pain was something Wang Lin could endure with his willpower. However, this was just the beginning. If I want to obtain the soul blood, I must endure as much as I can during the second calamity of the 3 trials. I must see where this calamity ends. There was a flash of decisiveness and determination in Wang Lin's eyes. He slowly closed his eyes to endure the arrival of this calamity. The moment Wang Lin went through the 3 soul splits, ripples appeared around the ancient ancestor statue in the ancestral temple. The ripples spread in all directions and almost covered the entire ancient Shur imperial city. This strange phenomenon immediately attracted the attention of all the ancient Shur members. The ancient ancestor statue is releasing rings of light. This is someone going through a calamity. Look at the 9 rings of light. This is the ancient Tao 3 soul splits of the second tribulation of 3 trials, and this is the first time he has split his soul. If it is the second time, there should be 18 rings of light. Strange, the ancestral temple never opens for one person. Everyone has to wait and is organized by the imperial family. Only when there are enough people will the ancestral temple open once. However, I haven't heard of this happening in the past few years. I wonder how many people are going through the calamity this time and how long they can last. In the past, it was over in a few days. The people of the Shurji clan weren't too surprised by the abnormality of the ancient ancestor statue. It was obvious they had seen something like this several times. After looking at it a few times, they withdrew their gazes and ignored it. However, what they didn't know was that when the 9 rings of light appeared, the ancient Shur Emperor and Jidu all looked over. 50 years. He is finally going through the first soul split. I wonder how long he can last. Someone in my Shurji clan used 1 year to reach perfection during the first soul split. I wonder if this person can do the same. The ancient Shur emperor silently looked at the ancient ancestor statue in the distance. After a long time, he withdrew his gaze. Ji-du was also inside his palace. He was standing next to the window and looking into the distance. His wife was beside him and also looked over. "Godfather," Ji-du murmured. His wife held Ji-du's hand and looked at him gently. At this moment, on Origin Mountain outside the Imperial City, Song Tian walked out of closed-door cultivation. He had his hands behind his back as he looked toward the Imperial City. With his cultivation, he will definitely choose to split his primordial spirit for the first time, and it will take a long time. Forget it. Back then, when he was in closed-door cultivation, I secretly took action twice. Although I acknowledged Ji-du as the emperor, I still offended him in the first place. When he came back, he did not pursue this matter. I will protect him for the first time as repayment. Song Tian took a step forward and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was outside the ancestral temple in the Imperial City. He glanced at the ancestral temple, then sat down cross-legged with his back to the temple. No one is allowed to enter within 10,000 feet of the ancestral temple. Anyone who violates will die. Song Tian's divine sense spread out in all directions. While Wang Lin was suffering the pain of his origin soul splitting, he felt Song Tian's arrival and words. He knew that Song Tian wanted to protect him. He took a deep breath and sent out a message that echoed in Song Tian's ears. "Many thanks. No need, I'm just going to protect you during the first soul split to forget what I did back then." Song Tian didn't look back but looked at the sky. After pondering a bit, he no longer paid attention to Wang Lin and closed his eyes. The moment Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense, his body trembled and he suddenly looked up. With his current cultivation level, even though he was feeling great discomfort due to the first soul split, he still felt that there was a figure silently looking at him from the sky. Wang Lin was familiar with that figure. "Teacher," Wang Lin murmured. He understood that his teacher wouldn't leave the ancient Tao for no reason. His teacher had obviously come here to protect him while he was weak and his divine sense was split. In the sky, Xian Luo looked down at the ancient ancestor statue and the ancestral temple. He could vaguely feel the aura that belonged to Wang Lin. He had a smile on his face and his eyes were gentle. "You're already stronger than Master. The only thing Master can do is to protect you when you're in a weakened state." Chapter 2056. The relationship between Master and disciple didn't need to be declared. For example, although Wang Lin and Xian Luo were no longer master and disciple in name, in Wang Lin's heart, Xian Luo would always be his master. And in Xian Luo's heart, his only disciple was still the child he had brought out of the cave world to the ancient race. Inside the ancestral temple, although Wang Lin's body was in pain, his heart was filled with warmth. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and immersed himself in the splitting of his origin soul. With his master here, he didn't need to worry about anything. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 3 days went by. During these 3 days, Wang Lin remained motionless, but the pain from his origin soul splitting became even more intense. It was as if a storm was going to drown his body. One could vaguely see a light figure appear outside Wang Lin's body. This light figure was connected to Wang Lin's head and floated above his head. The light figure's body was covered in cracks that were slowly increasing in number. There were even some places where the cracks seemed to be connected to each other. It was a terrifying sight to behold. This light figure was the external manifestation of Wang Lin's origin soul. If it was any other member of the ancient Shur, they might not be able to withstand the pain and would choose to fuse with it. However, for Wang Lin, this was just the beginning and was far from the end. 3 days passed, and then another 3 days passed. The ancient Shur people in the imperial city gradually noticed that something was wrong. In their eyes, the light around the ancient ancestor statue had lasted a bit longer. It has lasted for a full 6 days, a few more days than before. It looks like there are people with great perseverance among the people going through the divine retribution this time. 6 days. I just don't know who lasted this long. Back then, I couldn't withstand it on the 3rd day. This kind of pain is not something that can be endured just by perseverance. To have Lord Song protect them, this is expected. However, although it attracted attention once again, 6 days was not a long time. Gradually, the abnormality here was ignored by others. On the 9th day, 15th day, 30th day, and 2 months later, the ancient ancestor statue continued to give off ripples that spread across most of the imperial city. At this moment, more and more ancient Shur members looked at the ancient ancestor statue in shock. In their opinion, this group of people had lasted a bit too long. I haven't seen anyone come out of the ancestral temple in 2 months. Could it be that there's only one person going through the tribulation? Just who is this person that Lord Song is acting as his protector? 2 months, he actually persisted for 2 months. Looks like he's going to choose a major split. Before he knew it, another 6 months had passed. Including the previous 2 months, Wang Lin had been distracted for the first time for a total of 8 months. During these 8 months, almost all the people in the imperial city checked to see if the ancient ancestor statue's halo was still there. More and more discussions filled the ancient Shur imperial city. It was almost because of this topic that the people of the Shurji clan went from shock to horror, and then from horror to excitement. Now their excitement had reached its peak. This was because there were only 4 months left from the 1-year limit for the first soul split. Can he last for a year? It has to be said that the longest the first soul split lasted in my ancient Shur was 1 year. If that person hadn't died during the second soul split, he might have become a Grand Empyrean. 8 months, this person is really crazy. He can actually endure this kind of pain. Rumor has it that Lord Song persisted for 11 months. As the people of the ancient Shur discussed, Wang Lin remained motionless in the depths of the ancestral temple. However, the light shadow around him had shattered. The legs of the light shadow had dissipated, and only half of the figure remained. This figure was also blurry and almost transparent, as if it could dissipate at any moment. Although Wang Lin's eyes were closed, the pain he was enduring was extremely intense. The pain of his origin soul shattering bit by bit made him feel like he was being cut by thousands of knives. He had to stay awake and couldn't fall into a coma. 8 months of suffering still couldn't make him give up. Wang Lin had been enduring it all this time. He was going to wait for his origin soul to completely shatter before he could fuse with it. In his mind, the roar from the ancient ancestor was the only thing in his mind at that moment. If I want the sky to collapse, then the sky will collapse. If I want the earth to shatter, then the earth must shatter. If I want all life to die, then no one will dare to not die. If I want there to be no celestials in the world, then who will dare to exist? As he endured with all his strength, the 9th month arrived. In the blink of an eye, the 10th and 11th months passed. Song Tian sat before the ancestral temple and guarded Wang Lin for 11 months. He wasn't surprised that Wang Lin could persist until now. According to his analysis, Wang Lin should be able to last for about a year. In truth, 1 year is only enough time for the origin soul to shatter into pieces. Aside from a crazy person who persisted for 28 months tens of thousands of years ago, very few people would choose to let their origin soul shatter into dust instead of fusing with it. Song Tian didn't look back at the ancestral temple. He calculated the time and sat there motionlessly. When the 12th month passed, an entire year had passed. 2 months later, the entire ancient Shur was in an uproar. They looked at the halos on the ancient ancestor statue and were guessing who was going through the divine retribution and how long this person could last. 14 months. indeed worthy of being the king. In the palace, the old ancient Sure Emperor let out a sigh. On this day of the 14th month, inside the ancestral temple, only a head remained of the light shadow around Wang Lin. The head was filled with cracks and bursts of light came from it. Then it suddenly collapsed. When the head of the light shadow collapsed, there was no light shadow around Wang Lin. However, if one scanned the area with their divine sense, they would see a large amount of tiny fragments floating around. These fragments were still shattering. At this moment there was no vitality left in Wang Lin's body. He was like a corpse. The blood in his body could no longer move and had become cold. He had lost all consciousness, as if he was truly dead. The only thing that existed was a will that would continue to persevere until the final moment. If he succeeded, it would be as if he had been resurrected from the dead. If he failed, he would vanish like smoke into thin air. Will I fail? No. I will never fail. His will also contained the roar of the battle celestial from the ancient ancestor statue. The invisible fragments around his body slowly shattered. Another 4 months passed. Wang Lin had gone through the second trial and first soul split for 18 months. This time, even Song Tian's expression changed. He turned from facing away from the ancestral temple to looking directly at the statue. If he was like this, there was no need to talk about the members of the ancient Sure imperial city. After 18 months of persevering, they had gotten used to the halos and ripples coming from the Ji-Zu statue. However, deep in their hearts, they couldn't get used to it and were filled with disbelief. The 19th month, the 20th month, until the 27th month. After more than 2 years, Wang Lin was still persisting. Nearly 80% of the invisible fragments around him had completely shattered and scattered like dust. Only the small number of fragments continued to split. When the 30th month arrived, 2.5 years had passed. If it wasn't for the fact that Song Tian could feel the will inside the ancestral temple, he would have thought Wang Lin was dead. Crazy person! The reason he has such a cultivation base has a lot to do with his madness. Doesn't he know that a complete split can lead to death? Song Tian had already stood up from his cross-legged position. He stood outside the ancestral temple, his expression constantly changing. When the 30th month arrived, the old Emperor Shiji's heart trembled. He often called Ji-Du to see him. Although it was normal, there was a flash in his eyes that only he knew. However, what the Emperor didn't know was that Ji-Du Jing had noticed all of this as well. However, he couldn't be bothered about this right now, and his heart was filled with anxiety. He wasn't anxious about his position as Emperor, but his foster father's safety. When the 35th month passed, even Xian Luo, who was guarding Wang Lin, became anxious. He wanted to remind Wang Lin, but he was worried that an accident would happen. The 36th month arrived as Xian Luo hesitated. On this night, the 9 rings of light around the ancient ancestor statue suddenly erupted with extremely bright light. The light spread out in all directions and caused the entire auspicious imperial city to fall silent. All the clan members put down everything and focused their gazes on the ancient ancestor statue. Xian Luo got up and excitedly looked over. Song Tian took a deep breath and retreated 10,000 feet, focusing his gaze. In the palace, the ancient Sure Emperor was nervous. He stood next to the window and stared in the direction of the ancestral temple. Ji-Du personally came to the ancestral temple and anxiously looked over. Inside the ancestral temple, light shined from Wang Lin's motionless body. Countless specks of light appeared out of thin air and gradually formed a complete shadow. This shadow was several times larger than the shadow from before, and it gave off a shocking pressure. The moment the shadow condensed, the 9 halos around the ancient ancestor statue fused into one. It gave off a blinding light that made it seem like night had turned into day. At this moment, the gaze of the light that had fused into one condensed on the ancient ancestor statue. Xian Luo got up and excitedly looked over. Song Tian took a deep breath and retreated 10,000 feet, focusing his gaze. In the palace, the ancient Sure Emperor was nervous. He stood next to the window and stared in the direction of the ancestral temple. Ji Du personally came to the ancestral temple and anxiously looked over. Inside the ancestral temple, light shined from Wang Lin's motionless body. Countless specks of light appeared out of thin air and gradually formed a complete shadow. This shadow was several times larger than the shadow from before, and it gave off a shocking pressure. The moment the shadow condensed, the 9 halos around the ancient ancestor statue fused into one. It gave off a blinding light that made it seem like night had turned into day. At that moment, the halo that had fused into one suddenly separated and turned into 18 halos that circled around Ji Zu's statue. The first soul split was a success. 36 months, a whole 3 years. Song Tian looked at this and muttered to himself, completely shattered and perfectly fused. This book is provided by Cloud Book City, by Air Gen. The rings suddenly separated and turned into 18 halos that rotated around the Ji Zu statue. The first soul split was a success. 36 months, a whole 3 years. Complete destruction, perfect fusion. Song Tian looked at this scene and muttered to himself. Chapter 2057. Some of the Ji clan members believed that the ancient ancestor was still alive. Even more ancient clan members believed that even if the Ji ancestor was dead, his spirit was still there. He was still protecting the 3 bloodlines of the ancient clan. Otherwise, how could they explain the strangeness of the Ji ancestor statue in the imperial city of the 3 bloodlines? How could they explain the blessing of the ancient ancestor every time? How could they explain the rings of light that surrounded the statue every time someone went through the ancient Tao 3 soul splits? During the ancient Tao 3 soul splits, 9 rings of light would appear around the ancient ancestor statue during the first soul split. During the second soul split, 18 rings of light would appear, and during the third soul split, 27 rings of light would appear. At this moment, 18 rings of light surrounded the ancient ancestor statue in the Shurji imperial city and gave off a gentle light. Ripples spread out in all directions and covered the entire Shurji imperial city, attracting the gazes of all the people here. Song Tian stood outside the ancestral temple and looked at the 18 rings of light in the sky. After pondering for a moment, he turned and walked into the distance. He had come here 3 years ago to make up for what happened in the past and to restore his peace of mind. Now, he had protected Wang Lin for 3 years. Although he was not the only one protecting Wang Lin since Song Tian had come, he had made up his mind. If he encountered any danger during this process, he would definitely help Wang Lin. Now that the first soul split was over, he felt that there was no need for him to stay. Song Tian didn't look back as he returned to Origin Mountain. He no longer cared about what was happening here and continued to meditate. Wang Lin could clearly feel Song Tian's departure. As he sat in the ancestral temple, the Origin soul shadow around his body became several times larger than before. As his Origin soul grew stronger, Wang Lin felt that although his cultivation level hadn't increased, it was stronger than before. With his cultivation level, just a little bit stronger would be shocking. If I can complete the Ji ancestor's calamity and obtain the soul blood, then I wonder if I can go to the heaven trampling bridge and walk onto the 4th bridge that I couldn't cross in the past. Wang Lin muttered to himself. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and his eyes flashed as he raised his head to look at the light projection floating above his head. The first time I split my soul, it took me 3 years. Especially at the last moment, it was as if I was dying. If it wasn't because my willpower was still there, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to fuse them together. This 3 soul splits of the ancient Tao is related to willpower, but more than that, it's luck. Wang Lin frowned. He now completely understood why there were so few people who could split their soul perfectly. Luck might come once, or even twice, but for it to happen 3 times in a row, that was extremely unlikely. Then the second time, Wang Lin closed his eyes. After a long time, he suddenly opened them again and confirmed his thoughts. Luck is important, but if you have a strong will that can override everything, you can also reverse the situation. Wang Lin formed a seal with both hands and suddenly pointed at the figure above him. At the same time, he closed his eyes once more. The moment he closed his eyes, the shadow above his head trembled and fine cracks gradually appeared on it. The ancient Tao two soul splits appeared just like that. In the sky above the ancient Shur imperial city, Xian Luo looked down with a smile. He sat down and continued to protect his disciple. In his heart, the ancient Tao needed his protection, but this disciple of his was also in a weakened state and needed his protection. Time flashed by and 3 years passed. The 18 halos around the ancient ancestor statue seemed to have fused with the entire imperial city. Many ancient Shur people had gotten used to the existence of these halos. Although they would still look at the halo from time to time, as time passed, any curiosity in their hearts would slowly dissipate. Now all that was left was a guess. They were guessing how long the other party could last in this second soul split. 3 years passed, and another 3 years passed. After an entire 6 years, the 18 halos around the ancient ancestor statue remained the same. The sky above the imperial city didn't change from day to night. Even though it was night, the light still lit up the entire imperial city. During the second soul split, the 10th year arrived. There were even some ancient Shur children who had just been born. From their point of view, the sky of the ancient Shur imperial city had always been like this. News of the 10 years of soul split gradually spread across the entire Ji clan. Some ancient Tao and ancient Ji clan members would come here to personally see this scene. Time was still passing. Wang Lin was inside the ancestral temple. When the 10th year arrived, the light above his head shattered into invisible fragments. He endured unimaginable pain, but he endured it day by day. Those invisible fragments were slowly disintegrating. When they turned to dust, it would represent the second complete destruction of his origin soul. The ancient Shur emperor, this old man, seemed to have given up some unrealistic thoughts. He gradually stopped paying attention to the halos around the ancient ancestor statue and began guiding Ji Du to slowly inherit the throne. There were less than 40 years until Ji Du succeeded the throne. For mortals, 40 years was half a lifetime, but for the ancient clan members, although 40 years was a long time, it wasn't far. While Ji Du slowly grasped the secrets of the ancient Shur, another 3 years passed. Wang Lin's second soul split had been going on for the Shur San year. Half a year ago, a powerful pressure suddenly spread out from the ancestral temple. At the same time, it created a strange force. This force prevented all divine senses from exploring the ancestral temple, and it also prevented others from entering. Xian Luo was worried as he looked at the ancestral temple below. That strange power was something that even his divine sense couldn't enter. He could even sense that even if he personally entered, he wouldn't be able to step into the ancestral temple under that power. This power belonged to the ancient ancestor, the drop of ancient ancestor soul blood. When the ancestral temple underwent such a change, Song Tian, who originally planned on ignoring the ancestral temple, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with doubt as he looked toward the ancestral temple. The 4th year of the Shur San passed and the 14th year arrived. As the strange force spread out, Wang Lin's aura had disappeared without a trace. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Even the will he released during his first soul split couldn't be felt by anyone. The only sign that Wang Lin might not be dead was that the 18 halos around the ancient ancestor statue were still there. No one knew that the many invisible fragments around Wang Lin's body had been completely shattered half a year ago. However, after they shattered, they couldn't fuse. During this half a year, Wang Lin had used his powerful will to forcefully fuse them several times, but he hadn't succeeded. His will had been weakened by the repeated attempts to forcefully fuse with the divine essence. It was now so weak that it was almost undetectable. There was no vitality in his body, and only his will continued to stubbornly fuse. A large number of spots of light would appear on its body. These spots of light would slowly gather together to form the outline of a silhouette of light. However, it would become unstable again and collapse with a bang. As it exploded in all directions, the spots of light dimmed and disappeared without a trace. This was the 14th time for the Sure San. Wang Lin, who had lost his consciousness, used his remaining will to fuse for the 14th time. When a large amount of specks of light appeared around his body, the 14th year slowly passed. The 15th year arrived. On this day, a shocking change occurred to the 18 halos around the ancient ancestor statue. This change attracted the attention of all the people in the ancient Sure imperial city. This caused the people who were used to the halos to go into an uproar. Even the ancient Sure emperor, who no longer cared about this matter, walked out of his palace. He looked at the ancient ancestor statue and gasped. Ji-Du flew into the air and nervously looked over. He unknowingly clenched his fists. On Origin Mountain, Song Tian stood at the peak of Bull Horn Mountain, looking over with shock. One of the 18 halos around the ancient ancestor statue rapidly dimmed. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, it shattered into countless pieces and dissipated. As a result, there were only 17 halos left around the ancient ancestor statue. The halos shattered. What is the reason for this? Could it be that this person failed the second soul split and died? Otherwise, the halos wouldn't have shattered and dissipated? I remember now. I once heard that Gu Dao's 3 soul splits does not go on endlessly, and there is a limit to how long it can last. Could it be that this person has reached the limit of time in his second split? Bursts of discussion echoed in the ancient Sure imperial city. He has reached the time limit for the second soul split. If Wang Lin can't complete the fusion before the 18 halos dissipate, then his soul will dissipate. Song Tian took a deep breath as he looked at the ancestral temple and frowned. When Xian Luo saw this, his expression changed greatly. With his identity, he naturally knew why the halos had disappeared. He didn't hesitate to charge toward the ancestral temple. Song Tian had long known about Xian Luo's arrival, but he didn't point it out. Although he saw Xian Luo's figure, he hesitated and didn't stop him. Xian Luo arrived outside the ancestral temple in an instant and stepped in without hesitation. However, at the instant he stepped in, a great force suddenly bounced back, and a muffled rumble resounded. Xian Luo's body trembled, and he was actually unable to enter and was forcefully blocked outside. At this moment, the second halo, third halo, fourth halo, all the way until the 11th halo shattered one after another. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.